Well, hello to you. It's Monday, and that means it's time for the Jenny Monday Club. That's right, Shed Chat Live. And today's actually been a really busy day. What have I been up to? Well, what haven't I been up to? I've actually been over to Hattons today, and I got invited over off the back of having a good long chat with the, I think it's the CEO of Hattons at Alexandra Palace. And it's very kind enough to say, yeah, come on over. We'll give you a behind-the-scenes tour. We can do some interviews and stuff. And actually, I wasn't disappointed. Got there, and yes, they remembered. It wasn't just a case of, who are you? No, you can't come past the velvet rope. No, none of that. Straight in, people recognised me there. Actually, the sales assistant went, I know who you are. You're Jenny Kirk, which is pretty cool. Now, let's see who we got in. Devans GWR, hi to you. Dundee Road, long time no see. How are you doing? And Andrew Keeley, hello to you. I Like Transport, hello. I'm on for the first time ever. Oh, a Monday Club virgin. It's all right, we'll break you in gently. And today, actually, I've been so busy this last week. This Shed Chat Live is coming to you courtesy of Speaker Burko's 10-year-old single malt. Yeah, I've been to the House of Commons. I'm trying to think if we've had anything. No, we haven't put any of the videos up yet. So basically, we've been down to London to sort out this Brexit mess and give all those out-of-touch politicians a really good... I don't know why I went all Yorkshire there. Hey, come on, I got to whip it on a strip. Hey, hail boy. Oh, where's my flat cap gone? Oh, there's a ferret in my trousers. I haven't even had a drop of this yet. But we went down to London, to the House of Commons, sat through PMQs, and I was asked afterwards, actually, so what's your opinion on House of Commons? And I said, my honest view is probably more reinforced than ever before, is that they are ridiculously out of touch. It's like a university campus. There's the box, by the way. I just share that with you. From the House of Commons. Yeah, let's have a look. Does it... There we go. House of Commons, Speaker Burko's 10-year-old malt. Apparently all the speakers have their own branded malt whiskey. So I don't know what any of the previous ones were, but this one is a cheeky little Speyside malt. It tastes a little bit like Glen Moray to me, which actually is quite well priced. If you do get into the House of Commons, to the shop there, grab yourself a bottle of that if you're into whiskey, because I think it's subsidised, because it wasn't that expensive. Anyway, meanwhile, back at the ranch, let's have a look at the comments. Let's have a look. Tony Britton, evening to you. And Warrington Train Spotter 2778, hi to you. Yes, I am well, very well actually, after my trip to Hattons. I'm going to try and tell you a bit about that as well as this goes on. If I don't get too drunk, I've got to sip that sparingly. Let's have a look. Anita Jones, hi to you. Professor Foxtrot, what's going on here? Are we drinking some whiskey? Yes, Speaker Burko's 10-year-old malt. Picked myself up a bottle of that goodness when I was at the House of Commons. Went to see PMQs. The place is like a university campus, and that's probably why politicians are so out of touch with the rest of us. They have no idea. I mean, they weren't even aware there was protests going on outside, and they were genuinely, completely unaware of this. They're sort of in their own little bubble. It was most peculiar. And afterwards got taken to a meal in the Strangers restaurant, which it's sort of on the House of Commons side of things. So you can't just rock up there and go, oh, table for two. But we're there with our local MP, actually, who'd invited us down. And I also know why all of the MPs gradually put on weight the longer they're in the House of Commons. The food, oh God, it's like deep fat fried everything. Scotland, you haven't got a patch on the House of Commons restaurant because they deep fat frying oil. You had battered lard there. It's really that much. It was actually made me ill. I had an upset stomach for a couple of days simply because the amount of oil in the food. It really greasy. I had fish and chips. And the fish, I mean, it was a nice piece of cod, but the batter was like, it must have had half of the deep fat fryer's oil in there. Unbelievable. Let's have a look. Game Hammer Classic Gaming, aka Zoe. I'm in the know. That's Zoe there. Having fun? Yes, I am. What else we got? Leslie Gilpin, Evening Jenny, on schedule this evening. Yeah, Ash, I've been watching the time. I got told off for being really late. I like transport. I was on time, but won't be here till the end of the stream. I have to go in about half an hour. Oh, don't worry, you can always catch up on YouTube. The entire stream goes up as a full proper video afterwards, so you can re-watch it or watch any of the bits you missed. I like transport. Back to the trains, please. Ah, yes. Meanwhile, back to the Meanwhile, back at the ranch. So yeah, after Ali Pally, I got invited to go and do a behind-the-scenes tour at Hattons. And it's something that they're trying to do. Hattons is quite big on. They've realised that social media is kind of the hip new thing, which is getting out there and getting the next generation into model railway. So they're quite keen to work with a lot of YouTubers and kind of, showing what they're up to, showing the new models. And at the moment, I think he said August, June, July, something about August in the shops for the Class 66s. Now, Class 66 is not really my thing, but it's like he said to me. He said, if this doesn't convert you, nothing can. And it did come close, but nothing can convert me to Class 66s. But he showed me it was had a Freightliner one and a Colas one, and the Freightliner one had the full sound package, and this is a Lego Man Biffo sound file that's in it. So they've commissioned it specially, and the speaker that was and a bit of a link there because speaker Burko. This is really well done. This speaker Burko, speaker in a Class 66. They've got a really good bass response to the point where actually I had my hand on the layout it was on, and when they fired up the engine on this model, you could feel the baseboard shaking. Let's have a look down this. Devans GWR, right back to trains. I like transport, back to trains, please. Yeah, I know I do go off on tangents. Dan James, hello to you. Philip Page, good evening to you. Professor Foxtrot, London must import more whiskey from Scotland and dearie me. Philip Page, please say ho. Hi, I think that probably means to say. To my two grandsons, Freddie and Archie, they are great fans of you. Oh, I'm really honoured. So, Freddie and Archie, thank you very much for watching. It's a real pleasure to have you along, and I hope you're enjoying this live stream. And also, don't forget, do exactly what your granddad says, because your granddad knows best. And also, Grandad Philip Page there, fill them with sugar before you give them back. That's one of the prerogatives of grandparents. You get to load the grandkids up with lots and lots of sugar and have them bouncing off the walls, and then you give them back and there's somebody else's problem. It's great. My parents do this with my little nephews. Load them up with sugar and the hallowed holy grail, the elixir of jammy dodgers from the cupboard. Anyway, Philip Page, you're welcome there. Don't worry about it. New Mills Model Railway, hi to you. Rich Corral, hi to you. I like transport. I like 66s. Yeah, a lot of people do. And the Hattons 66. I have to say, there's been a lot of controversy. I know we've talked about the rails versus Hornby controversy with the Terrier, but bubbling away in the background has been much the same between Hattons and Bachmann with the Class 66. I suppose, there's also, Hornby have produced theirs as well. And a lot of people are really happy with the Hornby one because it comes in at a price bracket that's very affordable. But having seen the Hattons Special Commission now, this is taking it to another league, is my impression of seeing this. The weight on it is incredible. They showed me the chassis, the Colas one was sort of part dismantled so you could see inside. And my God, I don't know what they've made the chassis from, but it is really heavy. And it's an all-wheel drive, so 12-wheel drive, 2 6-wheel bogies. It's a full all-wheel drive, but that thing weighs a ton. They have crammed weight, and they must have used very, very dense metal, I suppose something like tungsten perhaps. And it is just such a heavy-duty chassis that I think that thing will practically climb a wall. It must have that much traction. We had it running around, and it was only running light loco, But it is, you know, if you want the all singing, all dancing 66, then the Hattons one does look and sound, if you go for the sound option, something very, very special. Now, we got a load of footage of that, and it's interesting, actually, their test track is deliberately badly laid. You know, you wouldn't have thought that somebody would deliberately badly lay track. But what he said is, you know, we want it to be a really good representation of, you know, the worst of track that it could possibly be subjected to, so that we know if it runs reliably on this, then it is not going to be an issue out there in the market. And, you know, I see exactly where he's coming from. So they've got set track stuff, they've got points exactly where you wouldn't put points, leading straight into a curve on a gradient, you know, all this kind of stuff. And this locomotive just romped through like there was nothing untoward there. So in terms of running reliability, definitely the Hattons 66 does look something very special. And, you know, I'm not, you know, it has to preface this with a caveat, well, two caveats. This was still a pre-production model, so as he said, there's a few little gripes that they've got with it, like the cab lights were flickering like nobody's business. He said they're not supposed to do that for whatever reason. There's a gremlin in there having a good time, but the real ones, the production ones, are not going to do that. I've forgotten what the other caveat was. So it's pre-production. And no, I've lost my train of thought. I'll have some whiskey because that'll always help me get right back on track. Oh, also the other thing is I'm not a 66 fan, so to me, it looks right. It had the presence, and you know every part of it looked solid. You know, it looked like, the best way I can describe it is like if they'd gone out back where the main line out from Liverpool off towards you know, going across the Widnes Bridge was. It was like somebody had nabbed a 66 off that and had some kind of Honey I Shrunk the Kids Shrinko-matic ray and just shrunk it down, because there was nothing on it that said toy. There was nothing on it that said compromise. Everything about it was just what you would expect. I could not find anything that I thought that would make you think, oh, somebody's going to pick fault with that. Now, somebody probably would pick fault. There's always somebody out there who will, as we all well know. But certainly the Hattons 66, they've taken that model to a new level. Let's have a look at some of the comments. Cottesmore, rumour has it there's going to be a Class 91 showdown between Hornby and Cavil X2. Nice to see Hornby flexing their muscles. Yeah, I've heard rumours about this Class 91 showdown. And I think Hornby have now kind of established that if anybody tries to park their trains on their lawn and goes head-to-head with a model that they already have in their range, even if it is something that is more of their railroady type stuff, they're not going to give up without a fight. So I think that you know, we've seen this with the Terrier from Rails, and Hornby got out their updated Terrier. Dapol announced the 61XX 262 Prairie tank, and Hornby are now suddenly retooling theirs. You know, Hattons and Bachmann had this bit of a head-to-head on the Class 66, and Hornby's turned up, snapping like a little yappy Shih Tzu or Chihuahua around their heels with their model, which actually, for the money, is an absolute bargain. So I think Hornby are not going to give in without a fight. I suppose you go further back, Bachmann brought out his amazing Class 8 shunter, and Hornby, even though their Class 8 shunter was a pretty naff railroad model, they went, we're having some of that market, and brought out a really good Class 8 model. Let's have a look. Philip Page, is sound a short-lived fad? I don't think it is. Now, I was talking actually with the guy from Hattons about this, and I said when DCC first turned up, I thought that was a bit faddy. You know, we'd already seen 01 from Hornby in the 1980s, in many ways a technology way ahead of its time. And then it came back in the form of DCC, and I thought fad. But for me, it was sound that actually really kind of, I'm just going to double check on this live chat. Oh yeah, that's brilliant. So we had a problem last week where it was trying to hide messages from me, but I've just lost my train of thought. This is happening a lot. I haven't eaten very well today, so low blood sugar, but Let's have a... Oh, Andrew Keeley, pretty sure Ren made an attempt at sound as well. There used to be a thing where it was like sandpaper in the tender and it was like... but yeah, no, sound I don't think is a fad. What is a bit of a fad for me is like all these gimmicky different lights and some of the sound effects. Now, the sound of like the driver slamming the cab door, for me that's a gimmick. But the actual sound of the locomotive, even the startup sounds, I can see that is pretty much here to stay. And what I'd like to see is over time sound almost become standard. So in the same way that lighting became a standard fitment for models, I'd like to see, you know, if DCC sound can be brought down in price to the point where it doesn't actually add an awful lot to the cost of a model. And become almost standard. And you know, maybe that's a bit selfish for me because I'm now getting into DCC sound, and there's probably a lot of people there who don't do DCC sound who actually go, well, actually we don't want anything that adds to the cost. And I completely hear where you're coming from, but certainly I think if prices can fall, and you know, I remember when DCC chips first came out and were like £100 just for a basic chip. So you know, the price is still there to come down, and I think that for the electronic side of things they may well do, but I don't think it's a fad. Let's have a look. I like transport. What new tooling from Hornby? We'll have to see. Oh, I think it's the Class 91 they're talking about there. See, the Class 66, we couldn't work out whether it's the same old tooling or whether it's completely new tooling or whether it's warmed over tooling, and I think it's been warmed over. It's like tweaked, done a few little improvements, but actually the Lima model was really, it was let down by the chassis, and that's something that they've actually really addressed. The mechanics on even the railroad model are a lot better. Let's have a look. Cottesmore, to be fair, Jenny, the Hornby 08 TTS is amazing quality, runs smooth, sounds great. Have they actually hit the market yet? I must chase up Arcadia models because I've got a few things on order which have started turning up, and I haven't had the phone call to say that my North British is it a J36 has come into stock with sound. So I must chase him up on that. In fact, I was in Hattons today, and Tim, if you're watching this, I was good. I didn't buy the Maud from there because I know I've got it on order from you. So if those have come in, then do let me know because I need to pick that up. But the Class 8 TTS sound chips I've got on pre-order. I think, you know, top tip, if you want some of those and haven't already ordered, certainly the first batch that hits the market are going to sell out very quick. There's a lot of pent-up demand, and they offer amazing value for money. So if they're as good as like the 37, the 20, and the Princess Coronation class, then they're going to sell out very quick. There's an awful lot of Hornby Class 8s out there that are going begging for a sound chip. You know, I've got 4, and all 4 I've pre-ordered a sound chip for them. All right, let's have a look. Leslie Gilpin, some of my US N-gauge locos have the sound of cattle. Yeah, I think the Hornby TTS vent van, I think some of the sounds you can get through that are things like cattle in cattle wagons. I'd be interested actually, did they load up a genuine cattle wagon with cattle to record the sound for that? Or did they just stick a microphone near a cattle lorry? It's how old cattle go move about the country. Do you see what I did there? A little joke. Oh, the whiskey's sinking in. But it's interesting. There are a few preserved cattle wagons in the UK. But I'm not sure anybody's ever tried, even for photographic charters, loading them up with cattle. I suppose they make a lot of mess. They kind of poo everywhere. Let's have a look. Andrew Keeley, Kato is a soundbox for DC. No UK prototypes, though. Russell Benton, yep, we don't want anything that adds to cost. As long as locos provided without chips, I'm happy. Yeah, I see exactly where you're going from. And when I ordered more, just to go back to that J36 from Hornby, in the North British livery, it's coming with TTS sound ready fitted. And at the time I didn't do sound. And I was like, oh, Hornby, can't you do it without, you're bumping the price up and I'll never use it. Now I've gone DCC sound, it's like, yeah, actually, I quite like the idea of that. But it's, my friend Brian, he kind of turned me on to the DCC sound. But also my friend Les, who, any of you know Les Cliff, he's quite big in the Facebook model railway community. I've got him downstairs, he's hot wire cutting some polystyrene for some scenery. I have asked him if he wants to come on the live chat, and he might pop upstairs later on. But he's hard at work downstairs whilst I'm up here. But he's bought into DCC. He got very taken by the sound as well, and I think that it is it is very addictive. You think you won't go DCC sound until you hear some of the good DCC sound chips. It got me hooked. It's got Les hooked. Let's have a look. Philip Page, my video of the week, Class 66 at Wigan. Brilliant. I'll have a look at that later on. Like I said before, Class 66 is your modern image isn't really my bag, to the point where actually stuff like Class 90s, 91s, 92s, Class 60s, even Class 58s, I'm not really that bothered by. But let's have a look. I like Transport. The Hornby 66 is ex-Lima tooling with slightly updated chassis. But I must admit, see, there's just something as well. I was talking with the people at Hattons about. I did a load of interviews. They will appear on this channel as we go through the coming weeks. But we did talk about how the advancements in technology have kind of made possible a lot of new models. But one of the things as well I've noticed is that the advances in tempo printing have actually allowed some of the older models to look better than they ever did. So the Hornby 66 is a case in point. That the finish that they're achieving on what is actually an old model gives it a whole new lease of life. And they were talking at Hattons that the SECR livery on the P class is actually pushing the boundaries of what the tempo printing process can actually achieve. And he was going into things like the lining, the multicolour lining on the buffer shanks. It's a small curved surface. He said stuff like that's never really been done before. And they're pushing this envelope of what can be achieved. And when you look at the Bachmann SECR full liveried C class from a few years ago now, that at the time was pushing the boundaries. But when you compare that to the Hattons P class in the same livery, or the Hornby H class, the Wainwright H class, it's not as finely finished as these later models because the technology is marching on. And one of the questions that I asked him was, has that opened up the possibility of doing models in the future that may have once been considered impossible to do, as the technology improves? And he said, yeah, definitely, certainly. The P-class SECR livery was one that he said, if they'd have tried to do that, say, 10 years ago, they couldn't realistically have done that livery simply because the technology with the tempo printing was not there to be able to do it. And it opened up a whole interesting line of conversation that maybe the reason we're seeing more of a proliferation of these ornate pre-grouping liveries now is not that the manufacturers have been denying that there's a market for them, but more a case that simply the level of finish required was not possible to be done within a good budget. Now let's have a look. Flying banana. Now what's the flying... Whoa! I've just... no. What just happened? I do apologise here. I pressed a button. I've broken the chat. Help. I should have copied the link instead of pressing play. And instead, how do I go back? I can't see anybody's chat now. This is... Help. Zoe, send me a text. I've broken. Just give me a moment. Let me just... Right. Pop out chat. Boom. Right, got it back. Right. Okay. Yeah, it'll still be working. I've got it back now. I accidentally, instead of copying a link, let's have a look. Yes. Where? I don't want top chat. Stupid Google. There we are. All chat. Right. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. So I was trying to have a look at your video. The flying. Why is it not giving me the? There we go. Come on. Command copy. So I accidentally clicked on. There's nothing wrong with your link, but it replaces the live chat, and then it's like, oh no, oh no, oh the flying banana, the class 43. So let's just see. Right, it's the HST test train, isn't it? So yeah, because when you said flying banana, I was thinking of the ex-Great Western Railway rail car. So, right. A bit naff weather, but actually it comes through all right. Yeah. Oh. Oh, right. So it's a full train of Mark IIIs. Was that a pantograph on one of those? Presumably it also it has the ability to test the overhead lines as well. Brilliant. Brilliant. Let's just go back to maybe. Yeah. Oh, thanks for that. Thanks for sharing that. So, that's on. Oh, have I just broken the live chat? I probably just bled into your screen there a moment. Let's have a look. I like transport. Please, let's have a look. Okay, let's have a look. Come on. So let's have a look at I like transport's video. Can't do too. Oh, for some reason, when I put in that link, let's have a look. When I put in the link, I get this error message. I like transport. So sorry about that. Doesn't seem to want to work for me. Right, but where are we up to? Let's just have a look. I've probably missed a load of your comments. Let's have a look. Cottesmore. Shame no one's going to make a class 175. Didn't Bachmann used to make a model of that? Or am I thinking, or is it a 178 or possibly a 168 or a 170? They all look the same to me. I don't think it's been in their range for quite some time. Cottesmore. Haha, let's petition. Now, you may jest, Cottesmore, but one of the questions that came up in the Hattons interview, and I'm going to get into trouble actually for just sort of strolling through all these questions. It's supposed to be an exclusive video. But one of the things I asked was how they went about choosing what models to make as their exclusives. So it's not as far-fetched as you think. Hopefully that video, it'll either be Wednesday's video or Saturday's or following Wednesday video. But if you watch that, it gives you all the details about how to petition Hattons to make a particular model that you want. Now, bear in mind that just because you petition them doesn't mean that they'll actually make it, because there's obviously a drawn-out process, and they'll only make it if they think that there's a market in it. But if you have information about a prototype, say, such as photographs, drawings, anything like that, which may otherwise make a model difficult to make in model form, then what he said to me was that sometimes you'll get somebody who comes forward with information that makes a model that they'd kind of discounted because they couldn't, it wasn't practical to make it. Either they didn't have the information or didn't have any of the details. But if you come forward with information they have in the past, I think it may have applied to a livery option, were then able to offer a livery which they previously didn't consider. So it can be done. Right, let's have a look. Stuart Woolard. Any news if Hornby are doing a TTS sound chip for Deltics? I haven't seen anything announced, but Class 8s, we've waited for God knows how many years to get a TTS sound chip for the Class 8s, and they're now here. So never say never. I think that maybe ultimately a Class 55 TTS chip. Also the Class 42 as well, because that's another model that they do in their railroad range. Do they? Yes, they do the Class 40 as well. So these TTS chips are invaluable to those of us who've gone down the darkened path of DCC sound. Wolfie Wolf, for the love of steam, don't keep us in suspenders till next Wednesday. Have you been going through my underwear drawer? I can't keep everybody in suspenders. Rock on, Tommy. No, that's the American suspenders. Yeah, I'll just put that there. Right, anyway, meanwhile, back on the ranch. Let's have a look. I like transport. Okay, thanks. Maybe Jenny's computer's broken. Philip, yeah, your link's worth it. It may be because if I click on the link, it messes up my live chat, and then I have devil's own job to get back into the live chat. So I've cut and pasted that link, and in cutting and pasting it, it seems to have messed up. Let's have a look. Russell Benton, did you ask Hattons if they are now receiving goods from Bachmann as they had stopped supplying? You know, I never thought to ask them. Now, I did get... in fact, I got a Bachmann wagon whilst I was there, but it may be old stock. It was one of the Army liveried ex-LMS goods vans, and I'm trying to think now, actually, there were Bachmann locomotives in the display cabinet, but come to think of it, I don't think any of them were newer releases. They are still selling Woodland Scenics, as far as I could tell, or at least they may have some quite extent. Well, actually, no. As far as I can tell, I bought some Woodland Scenic stuff. I bought some risers, so they either have stocks of stuff that they're still selling, or they've done, they've smoothed that out. But that said, you got to remember that they've got a good relationship with Dapol, a good relationship with Helgen, a good relationship with Hornby, and they're making their own products. So it certainly hasn't hurt their business. And when you go behind the scenes, there's like 70 people, he said, working there. 70 people. And it's quite magic, actually, to watch them picking the orders and processing them. So having any kind of a problem with supply of Bachmann items has not hurt their business. He said that they could have anywhere between 500 orders being processed in a day up to several thousand. It does vary a lot depending on what models are coming out, and then you've obviously got when a new desired model hits the market, there's a ramp up. But also, funnily enough, he says social media, and it's one of the reasons why I got invited there, was that social media is something that they've noticed that if a big name YouTuber reviews a model, then they can track almost this spike in sales. And I know I did a box opening and review on the SECR P-Class, the wartime grey austerity one, and it's the only one that's sold out completely, and they said it was kind of a sleeper hit. They didn't expect it to actually sell as well as it did, and they thought that the SECR fully lined out livery would really sell out quick, and they've done, I think it's 3 different running numbers of those, but there's only one of the wartime austerity grey, and it's sold out. And I know I did a box opening and review of that because it's the one I went for, and at least one other big name YouTuber did a box opening and review of that, and they said that the spike in sales on pre-orders, it wasn't anything special. It was selling, but not a runaway success, and certainly not as well as some of the others. But then it gets featured in YouTube videos. People get to see it and get an honest review. And, I bought mine with my own money. It was a very honest review, and I was very, very pleased with that model. I thought it was a great model. And they saw a big spike in sales. So I suppose what we should do is think up a model, and let's see if we can wang it. We could actually spike the sales. Actually, it's a bit naughty to do that because I don't know, but certainly what it showed was the power of YouTube in advertising models. But let's have a look. Yeah, Russell Benton, they had a disagreement over the 66. Now, I've not heard anything officially, and I always feel that it's kind of a little bit rude to ask about business secrets, but it may have been let slip by somebody close to Bachman that could have been what it was, but yeah, Brockwell Lane. I reviewed the Hornby Terrier before any magazine, and a few other YouTubers did too. Bet the mags are displeased with this. Well, it's funny you should say about that, because I reviewed the Rails Terrier, and that's not even on the market. I did a full review of their pre-production prototype. They lent it to me. And none of the magazines have had that level of access to it. So it's not just Hattons which have actually recognised the importance of social media, of YouTube, in getting products known. They let Phil Parker from BRM. He got his photographs. He was like, well chuffed. He was like, oh, look at this. I've got photographs of the Rails pre-production terrier. That's going in our next issue of the magazine. Boom! Burn you, Phil, because I got in there and I did a full review, and it was on my YouTube channel within about 3-4 days. Basically, it got done on the Sunday night. And then I sent a copy of it to Rails just to basically fact check it. What I didn't want is like any super inaccuracies that they go, oh, actually, no, it's got 6 wheels, you know, not 8, you know, that kind of thing. They were really happy with it. It went out as my Wednesday video. And I don't think any of the magazines have even gone to print which have the photos from Ali Pally, or if they have, they've only just done it. So certainly it's always nice to get early stuff. So you got the Hornby Terrier before any magazine. And I suppose with some of that is that the way the lead times works, my Duchess in Montrose, I think I did a box opening and review of that before it could appear in magazines, because it was announced in the Hornby announcements and it was out the following week. So I bought it the following week, and there's no way that a magazine could do a review, get it into print and distribute the magazine that quickly. And it's just a symptom of the world we live in. You know, when I was younger, I used to have a subscription to Railway Modeller. And, you know, you'd wait for Railway Modeller, and that was where you got your information. You know, the internet did exist, but in 1996, the internet was more of an academic curiosity. You didn't go to the internet to find an awful lot out. It was full of people's Tripod or GeoCities accounts and AOL sites. That was the other thing. Yeah, Paul Armstrong, absolutely bang on the money. Hi Jenny, magazines are old hat now. Now I know that basically MRE mag, because I know Alex Croft, who's the editor of that. He recognises that effectively your print magazine style, even though they do theirs only on the internet, but it's you know the monthly magazine format style. He's recognised that the future is in effectively social media, and he's very actively trying to set up an MRE mag YouTube site. He's producing a lot of content for that. I don't know whether it's launched yet, but certainly I've written a lot for MRE mag. It's probably the number 2 mag that I write for, behind Modelianischvags Magazinette. So big up Modelianischvags Magazinette posse. And yeah, I've done a lot there. I know Stefan Nilsson, the editor, quite well. But I met Alex Croft through BLR, Biggest Little Railway, and I've been feeding him articles and stuff. And I actually did a review of the Rails Terrier. There's a written article of that. I haven't actually been and checked to see whether it's hit his website yet. It probably should have done. If he was on the money, he'd have put that up to get ahead of BRM, who were almost certainly going to do a review of that in the next print issue. But he certainly recognises that you know magazines, traditional magazines, are pretty much dead. Yeah, Philip Page. I still love my Railway Modeller mag. I have to say, I occasionally buy magazines, but it's not for the reviews anymore. Magazines still have their place, and I suppose it's about having the articles. It's the written articles for me, and you know, a little bit the pictures, because they always, you know, it gives Steve Flint his due. The photographs in Railway Modeller, and you know the other magazines as well. I think Chris Navard does the photographs for Model Rail. They do a really good job, and they really make the most of the layouts that they feature. They look superb in there. So magazines do still have a place in the written article for me, because you don't get that online as much. You know, you go to my YouTube channel, it's not like Jack and Ori. I don't sit there and sort of read through the article or just put text on the screen scrolling like some kind of Star Wars crawler. You know, in a galaxy far, far away, Jenny built a layout in her loft, and she will be using mostly Pico Code 100 track work. But the evil forces of glue that will not set threaten to jeopardize her ballasting. Ballasting. Oh, God. Been using deluxe materials speed bond glue instead of PVA, and I've had no end of nuisance with that stuff. Speed bond, I should Coco. But yeah, right, let's have a look through. So I've been ignoring some of your comments here. This is very naughty of me. It's one of the things that kind of I like to make myself stand out is going through the comments. I like transport. Right, could you please try cutting and pasting again? Right, let me find your video. Lots of people said it definitely worked. Let's have a look. Can I... Right, command click. Oh, now. Right. Right, sorry about the delay. It takes me a while to get back through the comments. But finally, I've managed to... This is I Like Transport. This is your latest video. And... yeah, it's some interesting stuff. It's modern image stuff. So... Schlanfeierfachen. Did I get that right? Schlanfeierfachen. Here we are. Tony Britton, what model locomotive would you love to bring to the modelling community if funds were no object? If I were doing it, just to dip into the comment I've just seen, Class 2 shunter. I have to say, the BR Class 2 shunter is probably at the moment one which I would like to see, but there are several. And as you'll see in my interview with Hattons, we do talk about how Hattons choose locomotives, and I may have put a bid in for the Class 2 diesel shunter on the basis, a whole host of different reasons. I didn't just go, oh please, I'll buy one. I did a justification for a Class 2 to appear in model form, and I think one of the biggies is that the prototype is local to Liverpool. They worked in BR days around there, and also Loughton Metals also had as their works shunter an XBR Class 2. That's actually Newton. Is it Newton Willers? When you go up the M6, just after, if you're heading north, I can't remember the junction number, but you go past the A580 junction, and just after there's a bridge, and you wouldn't even know it used to be a railway bridge, but that's where Loughton Metals used to be. I believe on your right-hand side, where there's like fancy new office buildings, they're built on the site of Loughton Metals, and they had a Class 2 diesel shunter at one point. Leslie Gilpin, I hate when YouTube people go commercial with sponsors. Stopped subscription to one channel when the host refused to review N-Scale because his sponsor didn't sell it. This is something, there's a little part of me has felt a little bit guilty, and thank you there to I Like Transport for that video. So if you want to watch the full video there of trains that I want to say Llanfairfachen, but Philip Page, Junction 24 M6, yeah, that's where Loughton Metals was. The actual line, and it was the line down to, if you want to watch the full video there, I Like Transport's train, but there's some good stuff there actually. The Nuclear Flasks trains heading off to Valley, the strangely named Valley on Anglesey. Have a look for his channel there. So a bit of a plug there for you. But let's just let's go back to the chat. What have we got? Ham Shackleton, evening to you. Good to have you along. But yeah, Leslie Gilpin. I know I've made a big thing about not being commercially affiliated with anyone. I know I've been and done some interviews at Hattons. But what I have to stress is that Hattons have not offered me any freebies. They've not given me anything. I haven't had a discount on anything. And whilst I did buy some stuff there, I've been buying from Hattons since 1988. So when I review stuff, I still pride myself on being very honest. And I did do the pre-production review of the Rails Terrier. But I was genuinely very impressed with that. Now, it probably would have got a bit awkward if I hadn't have liked it. If I'd have looked at it and gone, you know what, that's rubbish, that is. And that's, I suppose, you're absolutely right. That's always in the back of your mind. But I don't review Engage, not because of any sponsorship deal, but because I don't do Engage. So I've tried today to get some footage of Engage stuff, and we talked a bit about some of Hatton's special commissions in Engage. But, you know, certainly when I've done videos at Wally and Ali Pelly, I do try and get some pictures of the Engage stuff. I'm not you know, it doesn't bother me. But I'm interested to know who that might be who's refusing to review Engage because their sponsor doesn't sell it. But I'm not... None of the YouTubers who I follow, as far as I'm aware, is actually... was actually sponsored. I don't know, is it Sam's Trains? I didn't think Sam's Trains is. He doesn't say sponsored. I know he does a lot with Hattons, but I think that's more a case of Hattons recognise the value of social media and the importance of that at getting their products out there. So they've worked with Everard Junction as well, New Junction, SDJR88, Callum Wilcox as well, and they're doing some stuff with me as well. But I'm not getting any freebies. I bought nearly 200 quid's worth of stuff. But I've paid full price for that. I've paid the same price as anybody who just rocks up there and buys stuff over the counter. So there's no... Philip Page, I didn't know that. Sam is affiliated to Hattons. Didn't realise that. But I'm not affiliated with Hattons. So any review I do of Hattons' own products is purely honest. And if I do a review, and it's something I said before, even though I tend to be... I tend to be very positive on stuff I review, and it's not because I'm trying to please sponsors. It's simply because I'm buying them with my own money. I'm obviously only going to buy things which I want for myself, because there's no point in me if I bought a Class 66 to review, I'd never use it, and it seems a huge amount of money that I'd look at it and think, but I've always wanted a Hornby S15. Why would I buy a Class 66 when I could use that money to buy an S15, which I really do want? So I tend to be slightly more positive because I'm very enthusiastic after the models that I buy. And I don't buy blindly. There's been models that I've looked at in a shop and I've decided not to buy, even though it was something I wanted to buy, because the model didn't live up to expectations. So that's why... when you see me do a review, it almost became a bit of a joke. It's like, the famous Jenny 9.5 out of 10. It's simply because I'm reviewing something that's already kind of been not pre-approved but pre-vetted. I think there was a Hornby pannier back in the day, and I really wanted that type of pannier, the one with the slightly open cab, and I really wanted to buy it. And I looked at it in the shop and it screamed railroad to me, and I decided no, it was, you can polish, I don't like to swear on YouTube, but you can polish polish a cable as much as you like, but when you're done polishing, it's still a cable. Philip Page, it says on his channel. Interesting. I didn't realise he was very close. I knew he does a lot with Hattons. I just assumed that he lived fairly close and had a very good working relationship. I didn't realise that he's sponsored by them. I wasn't aware of that. But certainly I'm not sponsored by Hattons, not sponsored by Hornby, not sponsored by Bachman, not sponsored by Dapel, not sponsored by anybody. I have been offered stuff to review from some smaller manufacturers, and I actually turned it down because it was something I felt at the time was going to open a big kettle of worms. But it's not necessarily a bad thing to have a working relationship with commercial organisations, as long as it's more of an arm's length relationship. It would be my personal feeling. You have to be in a position in this business, I guess, where you can criticise something that they produce, and I am in a position where I could really rip into a Hattons model if I felt that was deserved. I wouldn't do it just for the hell of it, but if God forbid Hattons shipped a model that I felt was atrocious, then I would rip into it. That hasn't happened, and I hope it doesn't happen. But my relationship is purely, they showed me round, I got some interviews, and hopefully maybe in the future, maybe be able to go back, do some more interviews, and maybe, review some of the pre-production stuff. I'd love to be able to do that, but it would still be an arm's length relationship at best. It was, I'm really indebted to them to allow me to show me around, and hopefully I'm going to try and sort some stuff out with some manufacturers, not to get freebies. And I talked with Alex Croft, editor of MRE Mag, and Lawrence Robbins, who is like Big Cheese at the MRC in London. And we came to the conclusion that the best kind of a relationship would be an arm's length relationship. And really, I think at most all I'd ever want is at least to be able to get access to products that I'm going to buy anyway. I will pay for them and pay the proper market rate, but get them early enough that I can do a review that kind of gets to the market first. That would probably be the limit of what kind of a relationship I would look for from a commercial entity, and keep it. And I think that's fair. The moment you start getting freebies, the problem is that you feel obliged to be nice in case the supply of freebies dries up, because we're only human. It's always nice to get free stuff. Right, let's have a look. Devon's GWR. What are you talking about? Let's have a look. No, don't like them. No comfort. Hard, uncomfortable seats. I think there's a conversation going on about class 175s or 178. Was it? Yeah. Brockwell Lane. Sam's train seems to want your donations very badly. Makes me feel very uncomfortable watching. Sorry, Sam. I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, I know that Sam sometimes swings through I've seen him on the live chat. I believe he does subscribe to my channel, and I do subscribe to his. I don't often get a lot of chance to watch a lot of videos at all, it has to be said. But I do occasionally mention, that there is an option. The super chat option does exist on this. It probably is running, but I'm not fishing for money. At the end of the day, I've got a proper job. I get royalty checks from my books every month or so, every couple of months. So I don't need to fish for money. I do this because I like doing it, rather than because I see it as being a revenue stream. I know what you mean. Sometimes it starts, you feel awkward if people are going, gimme, 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 gimme. And I can understand, some people do this as a business, and that in itself imposes all manner of restrictions, other stresses, other pressures. I know people who do YouTube videos for a living. That is their job. And, you can't begrudge people making a living, but, there is, I suppose, a fine line between rattling a can, so to speak, in your face and actually, applying that line. I'm trying to think. I watch stuff like Angry Video Game Nerd. He makes a living out of stuff. And Zero Punctuation, if you've ever watched that, it's on the Escapist channel. I love watching those. But it doesn't get in your face about asking for money. And, Ben Yahtzee Croshaw makes a living out of doing that. A very nice living. If you run the numbers and work out what he's earning, that's a nice living. But certainly, I don't want to make people any feel uncomfortable. I may occasionally mention Patreon, but it's almost tongue-in-cheek because Zoe says, "Oh, don't forget to mention your Patreon," and it's like, yeah, it's there, and I guess people find it if they want to, they can. If they don't want to, that's fine. Maybe it's just the way I am. When I try and get people involved in projects, I always find myself giving them a get-out clause, as it were. I approached a celebrity who shall remain nameless, to do with railways. He's a big name celebrity. He's done a lot of TV work, and I know him. I have a very sort of shirt-tail, tenuous keeping in touch with him, and I was asked to ask him, because I was the conduit, about buying a garden railway, a proper ride-on garden railway. And I found myself writing the email in a very much a, but I completely understand, obviously, this is a big ask, and, nearly gave the name of his wife away there, you'd know exactly who it was, but, it's like, you have to kind of get permission for domestic authorities, and you really, I don't want you to feel obliged. Don't worry about it, but we thought it would be, we'd ask you, but understand if I always put like, but I, obviously understand if it's not something, that you're interested in. And I don't like people to feel pressured at all. I've sort of done the very British thing of skirting around the issue there. It's like, oh yeah, jolly good show. Oh, more TV car. Anywho, so yeah, all the funding options are open, are running, but please don't donate. Don't donate at all. No, that came out wrong. Never feel obliged to donate. In all honesty, if you really, really want to give me money, the best way you can do it is to go to Amazon and buy my books. Quite simply, because then you get something tangible for it. It's one of those things, somebody rattles a can in your face, spare some change. I find it as irritating as most people do, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to plug things. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Who cares? Anyway, meanwhile, back at the prologue. Let's have a look. Leslie Gilpin. The channel I mentioned was one of the US model rail gurus. I'm not really big on the US railway modelling scene. I can imagine that there's probably some quite big name YouTubers in the American scene because it's a much bigger market. In the UK, I know Kathy Millett. I've actually subscribed to her for about 6-7 years, something like that. Some really good scenery tips. She's a whiz with scenery, really good. So I think she subscribes to me as well. I've never seen a comment, but I know that she knows of me, and I know her. We kind of exchange knowing nods when we pass each other at Worley or Ali Pally. Let's have a look. Train. Hot news off the press. Train sporting Southeast as well. I got an update on the locomotive Hugo, what I was talking about last week. Tell me more, Sensei. Now this was, if anybody wasn't there last week and hasn't watched the stream, this was the contractor's loco that was dug up out of the yard on the Gwilly Railway? Yeah, I like transport. Jenny, are you in GMRC too? We've been through this before. You may think that I can't possibly comment. I'm simply not allowed to confirm or deny, which probably tells you everything you need to know. I cannot confirm or deny that. And what I do know is that anybody who is in GMRC2 is not allowed to talk about it. So we'll leave it at that. Devan's GWR, different story, Jen. Right. So, right, interesting. So, transporting Southeast. No, it was one. Yes, Hugo, the Hunslet austerity. Right, sorry. Yeah, because I get confused. Yes, right. Russell Benton. In fairness to Sam, I only see that in his live feed. Sam's normal videos and reviews don't have any requests for donations. Certainly never feel pressured. Yeah, that's fair enough. I must admit, I don't watch... I've watched occasional reviews. I don't tend to watch his live stream because usually I'm busy doing other stuff. But everybody's got to make a living. He's probably something like 4 times as many subscribers as me. So you can't begrudge the guy making a living. But it's I never push donations on the chat. It is there as an option. Sometimes people donate, and big thank you to people who do, but never feel obliged. Warrington Train Spotter 2778, is the whiskey going down well? Are you drunk yet? No, not yet. Leslie Gilpin, Kathy Miller is a scenery superstar, as is Luke Towan in Australia. Their how to do it videos are breathtaking. Yeah, I've seen a few on YouTube. There's also a guy who I've subscribed to the channel, but I couldn't tell you who it is. But he just sort of whips them up, and he uses a lot of Woodland Scenics products, and it's kind of opened my eyes to a lot of the Woodland Scenics range. And there's some really good stuff in there. And again, I'm talking very highly of the Woodland Scenics materials, and I got sold it on this notion at Alexandra Palace. Seeing some of their demonstrations, and so it is genuinely good. This is not, nobody said, oh, could you review this product, oh, could you plug this? None of that. No commercial ties with any retailers or manufacturers, certainly not Woodland Scenics, but I saw their products in action and they are amazing. I mean, the sort of stuff you can do with the Woodland Scenics, it's like light years ahead of the stuff that you had to do scenery when I was younger. And it makes it so accessible and so easy. And yeah, it costs, nothing in this life is free. But the products are really good for what you get. And, while some of them are expensive, my personal feeling is that the end results that you get from some of these Woodland Scenics, like landscape formers, they've got this, I've been using this landscape shaper sheet. It's like foil-backed bandage that you kind of bully into shape, and like it kind of loosely holds its shape, and then you cover it with a thin layer of plaster. That soaks into the bandage that's attached to the foil backing, set solid, so it's freestanding, and the stuff is just amazing, the amount of ground I'm covering upstairs in the loft. There will be an update video progress on the loft layout. Hopefully might be filming that for Friday. It has been neglected because I've got so many big projects on, and some of those I need to talk about. Actually, I've talked to you a bit about my trip to the House of Commons to kick those MPs up the bottom, and also get a whiskey whilst I was there. I got some gin too. That was for my parents. My parents love gin. Well, actually, no, they don't just sit there like sipping it in a bus shelter. Oh, we need the hit, neat gin. They mix it with tonic water. Gin and tonic is their tipple of choice. It's quite nice, actually. I do like a good gin and tonic. But the Woodland Scenic stuff, I can well recommend the products and the trees as well. Trees have always been, back when I was young, if you bought pre-made trees, we used to affectionately call them bog brush trees because they looked like somebody had got the top of a toilet brush, covered it in glue, and oh my word, Wolfie Wolf, big up to Wolfie Wolf, thank you very much for that. It's donated 2 squids on the super chat. Look, as we were saying before, never feel obliged to do that, but I do feel really, really humbled by that. Thank you very much, Wolfie Wolf. It is very much appreciated. So big up to Wolfie Wolf. Boom. Where were we? Oh yes, back at the ranch. The Woodland Scenics. Yeah, it's brilliant. Ah, right. New Mills Model Railway. Sorry, you mentioned earlier that you were having problems with ballast and speed bond. Just reminded me, have you tried Deluxe Materials Ballast Bind? I've heard good reports. I haven't tried that. What I've been doing, I've got the speed bond, and it claimed to be like fast drying PVA. So me being me, it's like, oh, I've got 5 litres of this stuff. I'll use that diluted down like I'd use PVA because I'd run out of PVA. and it didn't really speed bond. But it wasn't just that. I also tend to use a drop of Geoscenics. It's like a ballast dye, like very concentrated ink, for want of a better description. So it's like very syrupy. You put a little bit in, you mix it with your PVA water mix, and when you do your ballasting and you put it on the ballast and it soaks in, the ink kind of highlights the grain of the ballast. It's one of the little tricks for good ballast. And it's made a complete hash because it's almost like it's reacted with the Geoscenics ink. And that's clumped together into these almost fibrous lumps. When you rub them in your fingers like that, they're just like pitch black. They go to like ink. It's almost like it's made the ink glob together and stick together in these sort of almost like capsules. But I've struggled, really struggled, I have to say. I'm going to keep experimenting with that. But yeah, some of the other products I will get round to trying. Transporting Southeast, we got the coal bunker and side tanks and the cab fittings. Ah, yeah, this is back to Hugo, the Hunslet Austerity, just found in the bushes. I mean, how cool is that? It's like, oh, there's this train. It's been there for years. We forgot about it. So really impressed. I'm interested to see how that project turns out. New Mills Model Railway, bond, not bind. Yeah, I knew what you meant. Autocorrect is a pain in the neck, I must admit. I've got autocorrect on my trusty iPhone. So what's this thing? It says iPod on it. On my iPhone, and if it wasn't for the fact that my spelling is so atrocious, I'd turn it off. But it does have its uses. But whenever you go off-piste on a weird word, or the other thing it does, it tries to anticipate what the rest of your sentence might be. So where gets suddenly changed to we are, we're, and that's annoying. Transporting Southeast and the cab. Yeah, it's a really interesting project. Looking forward to seeing how that goes on. Russell Benton, thanks Jenny, off now, got to go eat. Oh yeah, I need to eat as well. Yeah, I really fancy takeaway. I really fancy a doner kebab. Oh no, it's just the alcohol talking. Yeah, so Zoe's due back about, she said it could be as late as 10 o'clock. It's not a school night tonight. I'm off work tomorrow because my weekend is, I'm slowly reducing the number of days I do at work. And I know I talk about my books. I am an author. I am a writer. I write for magazines. I get paid for that as well, and I get paid for writing the books. But I don't earn enough from that to give up the day job. At the moment, I'm down to a 4-day week. So I get a 3-day weekend and a 4-day week, which is quite nice. I get Sundays, Mondays and Tuesdays away from my day job. And as time progresses, as I do better with the broadcasting and the writing side of things, my aim is to drop that down to 3 days, then 2 days, then 1 day, and then go to my boss and go, screw you, I hate your job, you can stick it where the sun doesn't shine. But until then, I have to smile and be nice 4 days a week at the moment. And so this is for me, this is like what most people would have as their, this is like the Sunday night on a bank holiday weekend for most people. Paul Armstrong, how come your spelling's crap if you're a writer? Well, you've put Ritter. Yeah, I see what you did there. The story. I'm sure I've told the story of this before. Basically, when I was young, I had some degree of dyslexia. So writing was very difficult for me, and I'd forget what letters would look like. They'd end up back to front, upside down, and it was almost like trying to read Russian Cyrillic. Is it Cyrillic? I always get Cyrillic and Cyrillic mixed up. It's Cyrillic letters, so like my capital R's would be backwards. And to add misery to that already struggling with spelling and writing and recognising words, I happen to be part of a group of, it's probably about 20 of us, in a small infant school in Kilsby, the village of Kilsby, near, I can't remember, I've looked it up on on Google Maps, it's still there, the infant school that I went to, but they taught us to write and spell phonetically. And what they said was, oh, trendy teaching idea. This was so this would be like the Margaret Thatcher government in the early 80s. And the idea was, let's see what happens if rather than banging on about spelling, punctuation and grammar, the importance is on getting the ideas out. Let them be creative. And within a year, we developed our own language, the 20 of us, written language that nobody else could decipher. And we spelt phonetically, but to our own set of rules. And they realised that this was bad. So I learnt to spell badly. And once you learn to spell badly, and if at that formative age you struggle to write words, to recognise letters, it is, well, here I am, I'm 40, and I still can't write properly. My handwriting looks like a 4-year-old who knows big words. If I write by hand, I cannot do joined up writing, believe it. Anyway, this is like, it's Jennifer's Confessions. I can't do joined up cursive script. I just can't do it. I print my letters when I write by hand, and it looks like a 4-year-old who knows big words. And I still default to the genetic... what is this? Ding, ding, ding. Aha. Zoe is on her way home. Takeaway tonight. Let's see where takeaway. There we go. Maybe we'll be having a takeaway. I really fancy doner kebab, but I don't know whether it's the booze talking. But anyway, yeah. As a writer, I write on a word processor on a computer downstairs, and it's got a spell check. Oh, leave me alone. She says, please. Yeah, we're having takeaway tonight. But I write in a word processor. I'm a creature of habit, so I still use Office 97 suite. Yeah, that's right, Word 97. But I got a spell checker, and it's been pre-programmed. As I put in various words that it doesn't know, they get added to a custom dictionary. But that's how I roll with spell checkers. Without spell check, you would find it hideous to read what I write. Even here, if I don't know whether I can I actually put, let's see if this works. Can I put, I've got let's have a look. Words what I struggle with. Proceed along the synergy of the, what are the word, permanent. I still don't know how to spell permanent. Permanent. Way. Proceed along the synergy of the permanent way. What you will notice from that is that I purposefully didn't use spell check. So that is my default spelling. What you see there is what I write by hand, how I would spell. So, I don't know, did I spell synergy correctly? Yeah. Philip Page, Apache OpenOffice, it's free. Yeah, Office 97 is effectively free to me because I've had the software since I was at university in 1997. Early adopter of that one, never felt the need to change. But as you can see there, I noticed that actually the computer did underline proceed and permanent. So both of those words are misspelt, but what you're seeing there is the default setting. That's how I learned to spell those words. Let's have a look. Ben Davis, hi Jennifer. I went to Swanage Railway this week and got into the Flying Scotsman footplate. Oh, score! It is interesting, isn't it? Get on the footplate. Did you actually get a footplate ride on that as well? I got, I've been dining out on this since it happened, but I got a footplate ride on the City of Wells, I think it's an unrebuilt West Country class. And what surprised me, I don't know whether the Flying Scotsman struck you in the same way, but how clean it actually is in the cab of these mainline steam locomotives. You're expecting everything to be like caked in soot and oil and grime and dirt, and you daren't touch anything. But I was obviously in best togs because we were on a VIP trip, and they went, oh yeah, do you want a cab ride? And I looked at what I was wearing and thinking, yeah, it's machine washable, we'll give it a go. and actually it was quite clean. I didn't get dirty. Let's have a look. Train Sporting Southeast. I am dyslexic. Thanks. Spell checker. My handwriting looks like 1-year-old written in mud. But hey, that's why I have a computer and a wife. Yeah, amen to that. Right there with you. Like I said before, my handwriting is not joined up. Never has been. And looks like a 4-year-old scrawl, but with big words thrown in. Devon's GWR. Jenny, I sent you a PM on Facebook asking if you wanted to see the full Gwilly VNL, but you haven't replied. I'm really sorry about that. Devon's GWR. I haven't been on Facebook. It'll be there somewhere. I've just been so busy. And that's a nice little link. Andrew Keeley, until next week, Jenny. Sorry to see you go, but don't worry. You can catch up on any bits that you missed. This video stays live, excuse me, on YouTube forever, I think. But certainly, anything you missed, anything you want to catch up on, or see again, look out for on YouTube. We'll see you again 7 o'clock GMT. No, we're on BST now. 7 o'clock BST, British Summertime, which I think is GMT +1. We'll be here. Be here or be definitely not triangular. But yeah, Philip Page. I got on footplate at Britannia, quite mucky. Ooh, that's a footplate crew, which is not looking after things. But right, anyway, on your screens, you will see one of the other things that I've been doing. That's Simon A.C. Martin, by the way. He's another big YouTuber. So he's getting all excited because his other car, his second car finally made it. This is the Guinness World Record attempt, largest number of Volvos parading in one place. Some of you might actually have been there. I discovered there was somebody from work who was there, who was number 176 in the parade. I was actually number 41. So there we are. There's Simon, really chuffed. So that, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, is Simon A.C. Martin. You may know him better as the author of the British Railway Stories, I believe. A set of children's books. But he's a good top bloke. Yeah, Leslie Gilpin, did you see the drone footage of Volvo 600? Yes, I did, actually. And I was able to pick myself out in some of the drone footage that I've seen. But certainly, if we go on, so were any of you actually at the Volvo 600? I'm curious. This is the parade lap as seen. Oh, come on in. Oh, you go. Come on in. Say hello. Say hello. This, everybody, is. Let me just pause that a moment. I told you.
Am I respectable?
Yeah, don't worry.
I've got glue all over me.
This is Les Cliff.
Hi, everybody. Hiya.
You may know him if you're on the Facebook. What's the name of the group? The
Model Railways for Novices. Or
Model Railways for Novices.
Something like that. Novice.
This is Les Cliff, who does the really good scenery and is incredibly novice. So if you look there, you can see currently your head's being chopped.
Oh, right, yeah.
But this is Les Cliff, and he always goes like, "Oh, it's like not very good," and you look at it, and it's the greatest scenery you've ever seen. This guy is a genius. What he doesn't know about scenery isn't worth it. Seriously. I mean, oh, excuse me.
Oh, dear.
Oh, a bit of dust or something. But certainly, Les does amazing scenery.
I'll have my own Facebook group as well, don't I? Not Lobia and Gardenia.
Yeah, if you've come across Not Lobia, that was Les's huge epic world in the basement of his shop in Bolton. And the scenery is, I mean, it's just, you're so creative with almost like everyday things. You just, and you make it look so easy.
Well, I used to teach art. I've done stage painting and design and everything. So it's just a continuation of that more than anything. Rather than putting paint on a canvas, I like to create landscapes.
It's almost like a 3D sculpture. Yeah, you could argue, but it's something you've been showing everybody how to build trees at the moment.
Recently,
and he makes it look so easy.
It is dead easy.
Well, yeah, everything's easy if you know how. But seriously, I mean, it's just like it's effortless when you've built models where it's almost like you've just gone, oh, I just threw this together, and you look at it, and it's we've been talking about Kathy Millett's channel, and Kathy Millett is very, very good. But Les here, I would say that Les is at that level, if not higher.
No, I wouldn't say higher. I mean, I'm learning all the time. I'm never too. old to learn new tricks. You
Yeah,
know.
and I think what the best thing about you is it's just so modest. Is sometimes you get people who are very, very good at doing something and they bloody know it. But you're very modest and...
Well, I want to share skills, and I like to learn off other people. There's lots of people who've got tricks of the trade I don't even know about.
Yeah, well, it's like the other day I was showing you how to wire up points.
Yeah.
And, but when it comes to scenery, you are like the guru. And I've described you to people before now as you're the scenery guru. Because
Canoe.
yeah, but
Sorry, I'm not proposing.
it's just because obviously otherwise he's like Wilson the butler from CBBC in the 90s.
I'm not meaning to be rude. I promised my missus I'd be home, so
no
I'll
problem.
Leave you and I'll just disappear and I'll see you tomorrow evening.
What I'll do is I'll leave my fans with the dash cam video. I'm just going to let Les out. I'll be back in a moment. So enjoy the Volvo video.
My wire has snapped on the cutter, but it's one of those you just put a new wire on.
Right.
So I need to take it with me and rewire it up.
Yeah, no problem.
Plus the lighting is a little bit hard to see.
Is it quite dim in there?
Well, it is.
One of the ones that we got for the layout, I'll put that to one side, and if they query say that, what you did you buy that? Well, if that comes on, we'll have to take it off your budget. We'll just say, we realised we needed this, we played Swatsies with some others.
That's all right. Will we do the shoes?
That's fine. Well, we'll just say something. We had to swap, so we just. They not even notice. They probably won't, but if they do try and pick fault with it, just say, well, look, because of the baseboard thing underneath. I think it just threads through or just wraps around. I'm not sure. Yeah, everybody saying that. Okay. It shouldn't be too difficult. Right. Anyway, I best let you because I've got to. I'm trying to be rude. You're not being rude. If anything, I was rude because I logged off upstairs. You had that to do anyway. Yeah, no problem. I'll see you tomorrow night. You take care. Kevin, you chew later. Yeah, I know they are. All right, Jenny. How's your tiles? Just quickly have a look and see if they've gone down anymore. Yeah, you should be fine. If it's not really gone down whilst you're in there, it is a very slow. Yeah, just go to the garage and pump it up or something. Right, no problem. Yeah, no problem. Well, you take care. I'll see you later. Ooh. Right. Anywho, oh look, there's me. Oh, what's that? Brockwell Lane. She's coming back. Okay. Well, Brockwell Lane. I'm gonna have to look at the comments now because you said that. Let's have a look. Someone hide the whiskey. Jenny has left the building. Paul Armstrong. James Petts. I don't recall Wilson the Butler from CBBC in the 1990s, or was it the 1980s? Along with the Duck, Ed the Duck. I'm sure it's around the same time as Ed the Duck. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's correct. It's Philip Page. I remember him being in Bolton Evening News with cellar layout. Yep, that's the guy. He's redeveloped his cellar layout. Let's have a look. Wolfie Wolf. I didn't know about it. I would have come to that. Is this we're still talking about? Let's have a look. Philip Page. The chat does not stay on YouTube. I'm not. Yeah, I know that. I'm not sure what happens to the chat. It must be said. But right. Let's have a look. Yeah, I saw the drone footage. Oh, Wolfie Wolf. I got to assist in the firing up of a Trevithick's 1802 Colebrookdale locomotive. Is that the one that's at Beamish? Or is that somewhere else? Carol Taylor. Bye for now, Jenny. I did post up a few items of interest, but was busy chatting to other Carol. Unfortunately, sometimes the comments come up and whiz up really quickly. So I'm really sorry if I miss your comments. It's not that I'm being rude or anything. It's just once they zip off the top, if I've been gassing away, then sometimes they do get missed. Brockwell Lane. Were the police Volvos real or replica? I was told that they were real. What happens is that when the police keep a vehicle for 2, 3, 4 years, and then they sell it out of service. They get newer vehicles, and the reason for this, you may think, oh well, that's very decadent with taxpayers' money, but they do get driven a lot. And whilst they're perfectly good for average Joe Q public to get a decent spec Volvo or BMW or anything else that they use, if you continue to use a car that intensively, then it does become unreliable. So to combat that, they just get new cars every few years. And they get sold out of service. And what I'm told is that legally you can't just bomb around in a police car. If you leave the lights on, you have to cover them when it's on the public road. You cannot, even switched off, you're not allowed to display the lights. The roof bar has to be covered. And they actually turned up with almost like a sack tied over the roof light bars, and the decals on the side that say police have to be covered out. So they have like these magnetic They're almost like a piece of magnetic material that you slap on the door, and it covers where it says police to go on the public highway. But obviously, once they're on, this was on an airfield, so on a public, a private area, they could whip the coverings off and fire them up. So there was some former Strathclyde police cars, and there was I think it was a B Reg 240 police car, and they were all genuine ex-police cars, and I guess that they get used for a lot of film work as well. Because certainly Simon A.C. Martin's Volvo 740, I think it's a 740 GLE Auto estate, has been in TV stuff, and people hire out their vehicles, and I guess the police cars make a good living doing that kind of things. But yeah, they were once upon a time genuine police cars. Tony Britton, I've always been taught as a member of the footbike crew to keep it as clean as you can, as it's your place of work and home for however long you're there. Yeah, absolutely right. It's a bit like driving trucks. You keep it clean, and certainly in a shared user vehicle, nobody likes the drivers who leave it as a big cesspit of filth. They very quickly find that the other drivers find a way of paying them out. Let's have a look. New Mills Model Railway. What's the best way to ballast around points, do you think? Funny enough, I was asked this earlier on today, and the answer is carefully. What you've got to make sure is you just don't lock up the mechanism with ballast. So when you ballast around a point, you ballast around the area. Leave the area where the mechanism is. To do very, very precisely. And I use a very small paintbrush, clean, dry paintbrush, and you very carefully work the ballast in and make sure it's not too high as to jam the mechanism, and just don't let it drop in around the tie bar, because if it gums up, once the glue gets in there, it'll just completely mess it up. But really, it's just slowly and carefully around the mechanism of points is the best way to do it. Ham Shackleton, did you say guru or gluru? Guru. Guru. James Pett. Yeah, Wilson the butler. Yeah. Paul Armstrong. Jenny has left the building. Leslie Gilpin. New Mills Model Railway. Carefully. Yeah, that's exactly what I said, isn't it? You ballast around for points carefully. There's no other way of doing it, I'm afraid. I like transport. Why are we watching cars on a live train? Oh, yeah. That's so that I could wander off and actually let Les out without you just basically looking at the wall behind me. Somebody said, are those certificates? Where are we? Oh, there. So if I shut the door, these certificates, I'm probably not going to be able to get it back on the wall now. These are Zoe's. Now, stop me at whatever point you can read that this is fictitious. This is from Anchor-Morpork. This is Terry Pratchett's Discworld. And you can do stuff online and effectively get these sort of almost like bogus certificates. Then you have to sort of sit an exam that tests your knowledge of Discworld, I think. But these are Zoe's certificates. They're not all joke ones, it has to be said. I knew... Oh, no, my whiskey. The lid was on, so we don't have a heinous whiskey crime going on. But, I best get this back on the wall. Yeah, making me take it off the wall. How am I going to get this back on the wall? I don't know, can you still hear me? Oh no, Zoe's going to kill me. Say, what are you doing messing about with my certificates? Well, somebody on the live stream wanted to know if it was real. Well, of course they're real. You can see them, can't you? No, they wanted to know if there were qualifications or not. Yeah, they're qualifications from the Assassin's Guild in Anchor-Morpork. Oh dear. Oh, this is actually really tricky. My fingers are just slightly too... Oh no, come on. I'm going to get in trouble. It's okay, she never watches this back, so she won't know what I'm doing. Oh, come on, you can... Yes! There we are. Oh, the perfect crime. She won't know about that. But the one above is one of her law certificates. Yeah, so fake, real. And that's actually a diploma in English law. Zoe, one of the jokes with Zoe will be something. She go, oh, you can't do that because of Section 12 of the Pedantic Get Act. And it's like, turn the legal off. So that's why Zoe's always like quoting laws at people. Right, anyway, I like transport. Why are we watching Cars on a Train live stream? Basically, because otherwise you'd be looking at the certificates for all the time I was letting Les out. He can chat for England, you see. I knew he was going to do that. And he wanted to show me what he'd been working on. And it's some, again, amazing scenery, which I can't show you at all. You'll just have to wait for later in the year. Brockwell Lane, someone hide the whiskey. Leslie Gilpin, because Jenny was there. Ham Shackleton didn't watch CBBC, but there was a Butler and a Wilson and shopping channel made very expensive dress jewellery. Yeah, CBBC, I suppose it's one of those things, it depends how old you are. I'm 40. So my childhood was carried out through the 80s and into the 90s. So for me, Ed the Duck and Wilson the Butler would have been, I suppose, late 80s, early 90s. Let's have a look. Tony Britton or Drink It. Yeah, I'd like to see you try. Go on. Anybody who can reach through their screen and touch this can have it. Anyone? Anyone? Nope. Okay. See? It's safe. Leslie Gilpin, Blue Peter with Christopher Trace was my era. Christopher Trace. See, with me it was Janet Ellis. Is it Paul Duncan? And it was the guy who went on and the Scottish guy. And there's Karen Keating. I'm sure Karen Keating was on Blue Peter when I was a kid as well. Train Sporting Southeast. My wife told me stop going into the loft because it gets mad at me up there. But the kids like, it means I can't win. So tomorrow wife goes to see my mother, so help me. So I got to do something with the kids. It's actually I don't have children of my own. It's like, let's learn something about Jenny. I can't have children, so it's the one big regret in life that I did once. It was stillborn, but it's always a great regret not having children. But I get to do my mothering instincts vicariously through nieces and nephews, and it is great to have them round and just to see their faces when they see my little model empire. They loved the shed, and today for the first time, Henry, Max and Zach, my three nephews, actually there's a fourth but he's just been born, so he's a bit young to appreciate it, and I think the idea of carrying a newborn baby up a ladder into the loft is had the three of them up there, and they came round and they went, let's go to the shed, want to go and see Auntie Jenny's trains. And it's like, no, we're not going out to the shed. And the look on their face, they're like, what? Well, what are we wasting our time here for if we can't go out to the shed to see the trains? And I said, I've got an even bigger model railway. And they're like, well, tell me more, Sensei. I said, come on, upstairs. Came up, and there's the ladders down for the loft. And they're like, ooh. So they went up the ladder, and oh my word, they're like, oh my word, oh, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. Because it's obviously the biggest layout they've ever seen in person. And previously it was the shed layout was the biggest they'd ever seen, so something that's like 6 times as big, they're like, whoa. And then my little nephew Henry, as little nephews do, he starts looking at the ballast that I'd laid the night before, and as soon as I turned my back, I didn't realise, and what he's doing is he got his finger and he's like, ooh. And of course the glue's not set. So what he's actually doing is he's pushing around what amounts to dirty, mucky gravel and sand and making little sort of like sand castles out of it. And I had to look around and it's like, oh my God. Because if any of you ever tried to remove wet ballast, it ain't happening, is it? You just make a complete pig's ear. So I'm there with a little spatula, trying very carefully to sculpt back into position this wet ballast that he's been with his finger through. Oh, I love him to bits, but he can be a nuisance. Let's have a look. Ben Davis, but the best thing was I got to go on the T9 footplate for free because it was my 21st birthday. Score. This was at Norden Turning Around. That was the best time of my life. Yeah, actually, it's really good. And if you can cab a locomotive doing the bits that the public don't normally go, I got to... And I don't know whether they're actually supposed to let people do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to name the railway because I don't want to get anybody into trouble, because they were very kind enough to let my friend and I ride in the back cab of a Class 25 whilst they were shunting wagons on a particular railway. So we went right up the head shunt to fish out a couple of brake vans, and also got to ride through some of the siding areas that you would never normally ride on as a passenger, and that was grand. But I'm not going to name the railway because I don't want anybody to get into trouble, but that was great. And even though it was just a Class 25, that was pretty good fun. I like transport. Yes, we can say... that was when I was messing about with it. Don't tell Zoe. Because I know some of you actually listening to Zoe's live stream. She does the Game Hammer live stream where it's all like Amstrad 464 coding and stuff like that. And I've seen a few people go across. So when I turn up there, I do what she does with my live stream, where she checks in just to make sure all is well. I sometimes drop into her live stream, and I feel a bit embarrassed at times because half her audience goes, "Oh, hi Jenny, we watch your channel as well." And it's like, oh, hello. Let's have a look. Tony Britton, I think the T9s were known as Greyhounds. Yeah, I believe they were. Let's have a look. Mark Wilson, hi Jenny, what do you think to the GBRF conversion of 16 Class 56s that will be re-engined to become Class 69s? I didn't know about that actually, but it's certainly an interesting idea. It goes on a lot in America, I believe, where they will re-engine old locomotives, give them a complete new lease of life. The first time we really saw this happening in the UK, I suppose the Class 30 became the Class 31, but that was for different reasons. We also had the Class 37 9s, which were kind of a test bed, which were reasonably successful. But then we had the Class 47s that were re-engined to become the Class 57s, was I suppose the first true re-engining of a more end-of-life locomotive to give it a new lease of life. So it certainly seems to be something sorry, I've triggered somebody's... I've just seen your comment there, Wolfie Wolf. I'm really sorry. Let's just... It's sorry about that. Yeah, I have OCD as well. It's like I get really annoyed when people spill the Rice Krispies and don't clear them up. But I do have to count them all first before I clear it up. Yeah, I hadn't heard of the 56s being re-engined to become Class 69s. But certainly, I think in terms of interest on the railway, and I know that that's not the big consideration for operation. It's not really a consideration at all. But I think it keeps a variety of interest, which things got really boring for a while with class just nothing but wall-to-wall Class 66s and the odd 67. So, from that point of view, it keeps things interesting. But also from an environmental point of view, I think it's a really good idea because, people go on about recycling, but actually it's supposed to be reduce, reuse, recycle. So recycle is like the third option after, if you can't reduce your use of something, you reuse it first because it doesn't have to be remanufactured, which takes energy, and then only after all that do you recycle. And what they're actually doing by the sound of it is they're reusing assets. So in terms environmentally, that's a really good thing to do. I've just had a huge jump. Let's have a look. Ian Hilpers, 56 to Class 69. Yes, think a Bill and Ted reference. Woo! Woo! Warning! Warning! Bill and Ted reference incoming. 69 dudes! And we all know why Bill and Ted were thinking of that number. Mr. Dreaded 88. I quit drinking and smoking cigars at 8. Yeah, you were like the baby in like the baby in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. We were like puffing away on the big cigar in the pram and leering at the nanny. Hey, Toots, get a bit closer. Meanwhile, back at the ranch. Philip Page at Mr. Dreaded 88. I waited until 8:30. Oh, right. Boom. Right back at you. Quality jokes. Wolfie Wolf. I started at 8:45. I like transport. Shame about the ballast. Hope it came out okay. It seems to. I'll wait and see when it dries. I'm having enormous trouble with the speed bond just not drying. Now, it has eventually dried. I've just checked it on another project. So I think it will dry eventually, but at the moment, as long as it can escape prying kiddie fingers, it should be all right. But it's going to take another couple of days, I think. Let's have a look. Leslie Gilpin, back in the 70s, I was shown rough drawings of a proposed Class 49 as an upgraded Class 47. Eventually appeared as Class 56. Yeah, there's a few of these things floating about. There was also a Class 19 that was proposed. A Class 38 I've seen reference to. And a Class 48, I believe, did technically exist, but were reclassified as 47. But yeah, certainly the Class 19, if you ever get a chance, look up what the proposed Class 19 was supposed to be. It was a trip-working, four-wheel diesel electric locomotive, I believe. Very curious little beast had it appeared. Let's have a look. The Growler Blackwood Engage layout. Good evening to you as well. Always good to have people along. And don't forget, you can also catch up with all of the stuff that you may have missed. You can watch the video back. Wolfie Wolf, Jenny the Trevithick, 1802 is at the Blist Hill Museum in Ironbridge. Right, no problem. Yeah, I knew it was one of those kind of living history type museums. I could only think of Beamish. I know they've got an oldie worldy locomotive at Beamish, and it does occasionally get steamed up and moved about. But I'm not sure which one that actually is. Let's have a look. Mark Wilson, the Severn Valley Railway have just announced guest locos for the Diesel Gala GBRF Class 66 and a 60 plus a direct rail Class 88 along with the home fleet and a guest 40. Oh, a 40-foot peak. Right, so I was just thinking, what's a 40-foot? Then, yeah, of course, the peaks. Yeah, certainly, if you're into your more modern Diesel Gala, that is definitely sounds like a good one. Not my thing, I have to say, but it doesn't detract from the fact that I understand that it is a lot of people's things. Mr. Dreaded 88 just picked up a Tornado by Hornby without tender for £15 American. Is that? $15. It's not detailed, but runs like a beast. That's not a bad price actually for a runner. Aiden 0206, hello everyone. Sorry I'm late. I always say to people, you're not late. You just, you can dip in and out anytime you like. I know a lot of people lurk here as well. Don't feel that you have to comment at all. Comment if you want. It's always good to say hello and see people who are here and add your 2 penneth worth in. But yeah, you can always catch up on anything that you've missed. It stays on YouTube for a while, I believe. Let's have a look. Train Sporting Southeast. We heard you taking about your layout on the ground. We heard you talking about your. What do you mean you heard me talking about my layout on the Great Model Railway layout? Tell me more. Why? Who's been saying what? TikToker H. What do you think about the disappearance of Will from IC82? Please don't do the same. Will is it Pillsbury? Now I know Will through a mutual friend. I don't know him personally, but a good friend of mine, is good friends with him. So I know that Will, those things cropped up in his life away from YouTube that took all his time up. He went through a stressful time. I think he was trying to adopt as well, and that's obviously quite a big deal. So I understand that he's trying to make a little bit. He sort of went away from YouTube for a while, then tried to make a comeback. Did put out a few videos, and has kind of tailed off. And I I'm not planning on doing the same. I do know a lot of the reasons, or at least I've been told a lot of what I believe to be the reasons that Will's kind of gravitated away from YouTube. And, you know, he's a great bloke. Not met him personally myself. Was slated to do some work with him through Plum Pictures, who did it eventually. You'll probably recognise them as the production company behind the BBC 4 Big Trouble in Toyland, whatever, the James May thing, that all that controversy. He dropped out quite early on, which is how I got to know about some of the things that were going on. As far as I'm aware, he is all right. It's just other things taking up his time. But yeah, he was a big channel. He was kind of the original YouTube model railway channel. Certainly, I think he had something like, at its peak, about 86,000 subscribers, which back in the day, that was huge. And some of his videos have got millions of views. I know we can only dream of having millions of views for even just one of our videos. I think at the moment, my most viewed video is about 70,000 views, which, you know, not to be sniffed at. But I saw his box opening and review of, I can't remember what it was, just like a Hornby Javelin or something like that, and it had 3.9 million views. And I thought, good on you, mate. I just wish I could be even a fraction as successful as that. I like transport. Just looked up Class 19. It says converted Mark III coach. The classification might have been reused, but certainly back in the 1980s, Class 19 was reserved for a new trip-working freight locomotive. Brookwell Lane Class 19 is a DVT conversion, according to Wikipedia. Interesting. It may be that the numbers get recycled. So, for example, Class 17 has been reused as a tops number allocation for a Vossler Bobo diesel, the DB Rail Freight that we're using at Dollinsmore. But obviously, originally they were the Clayton, the double-bonneted Claytons with the centre cab. Mark Wilson, Jenny, do you think that a reverse decision to nationalise the rail network would work and take it back out of private ownership? It gets banded around that all the ills of the rail network are because of privatisation, and I don't think that nationalisation would necessarily work. There's a few caveats going around, caveat, that buzzword brought to us by politicians when they're trying to slime their way out of something. But those of you old enough will remember the days of British Railways, British Rail, that brought you the beaching cuts and, rationalisation and, turning your local station into a bus stop. There's still whiskey in. I've got to top it up anyway. So, we look back at British Rail through rose-tinted glasses, but actually, for somebody who experienced travelling on British Rail firsthand, I remember it as not necessarily being as great as you'd imagine. So, handing it back into public ownership, the problem is always management with a lot of these things. You look at British Leyland, and being a nationalised industry didn't really work out for that. Where is Rover and Leyland and AEC and MG, Austin, all of these marks pretty much gone, bought out by other companies. So, James Pett's absolutely right. Nationalisation was a disaster the first time around. State control is very dangerous. Yeah, I mean, just look at how the civil service runs. If you've ever been self-employed and had to file tax returns, you will know full well how badly HMRC deals with tax matters and how arrogant they are when things go wrong. Anybody would think that I know somebody who's still battling it out with HMRC for their cock-up, but the way they treat people with this cavalier attitude, But yeah, that's what happens when you have effectively a nationalised industry. You know, the tax is handled by the civil service, which is pretty much a national, for want of a better description, it's a nationalised administration service. So, you know, you also have to remember that the railways were built by private enterprise. You know, private profit-making companies built the railways. It's as simple as that. So, you know, you go right back, and you know, you've got companies like the Liverpool and Manchester and the Stockton and Darlington, and you know, through commercial enterprise, these companies existed in that sort of a form until 1923, when the grouping happened because increased competition from other forms of transport, and the railways had become saddled as a common carrier, which caused no end of a nuisance to them. So they were then grouped into the big four: Great Western, London and North Eastern Railway, the London Midland and Scottish, and the Southern Railway. And that was about trying to make them profitable again, make them work again as a private enterprise. So that was the first bit of a medal from government. And it kind of worked, kind of didn't. Certainly, 3 of the big 4 were struggling by the time the Second World War took its toll out of companies. But you know, if we hadn't have had the Second World War, would we have seen the rundown of the railways? I don't think we'd have. Well, actually, no. I think we would have seen nationalisation, because that was the aims of the Labour governments. You know, to take the means of production into state ownership. Just how socialism worked. And you know, at that point, we hadn't had, you know, a big deal Labour government. So you know, they created the National Health Service, which is great. The National Health Service is great. Doesn't mean I agree with how it's run. The amount of money that disappears into black holes here, there and everywhere. But the fundamentals of having a National Health Service is great. And I would not want to see the NHS privatised at all. Somebody's asking about the West. Sorry, warning, politics disclaimer. But yeah, as people who know me well know, so this is what we're drinking: Spear Politics, Speaker Burko, House of Commons whiskey. I got this on my trip down to the House of Commons last week. Nobody knows what political party I support. I go to great lengths in not telling people who I support. Yes, I do vote. I vote diligently, and I never tell people who I vote for. And I, for the avoidance of doubt, in my lifetime, I have voted for 4 different political parties. So no one party can count on me for their undivided support. But certainly, I think nationalisation would be a disaster for railways. What we need to see is an integration between track and rail operators. At the moment, I think that's fundamentally part of the problem. You've got Network Rail managing the track and the stations, and then you've got the rail operating companies running on that. And without that direct link, then you've got the problems you get with delays, and you know, it's always somebody else's problem. And the investment level as well. I think, you know, a company is much less likely to invest if that money just disappears and, you know, at the end of the franchise, whoop, gone. I think if the railways were privatised properly, and that's where effectively more like a Big Four model, you have to set up competition. So you would need different routes and different ownership, such that, you know, if you want to, say you want to go from Manchester to London, you'd have the West Coast Main Line, and then also maybe have a Midland Main Line option, and possibly even have a means whereby the East Coast Main Line, you could catch a train across to Leeds and then down to London that way. And all 3 of those would be run by different companies that control their infrastructure as well as the trains. And that, for me, that is proper privatisation, where you have competing companies competing commercially because they want your business to make money out of it. None of this subsidy nonsense, because it just becomes a gravy train. And only then do I personally think that the railways could pull their weight and actually work properly. But that's my thoughts. I don't think there's any simple answer, because if there was a simple answer, you know, let's not kid ourselves. If there was a simple answer, even the politicians would have worked it out eventually. And there is no one simple panacea, magic bullet, whatever you want to call it, that will fix not just the railways but anything else. You know, if politics was easy, there'd be one person who would be in power for 80 years until they died of extreme old age, and everybody would love them and vote for them every time. We're not talking, like how Kim Jong-un gets elected, where he's the only person on the ballot and 110% of the eligible people vote for him, because if you don't, you get shot, sort of thing. I mean, somebody who is so genuinely good and popular and gets things right, they'd be there forever. But life isn't that easy, so there is no one magic solution. Right, anyway, Mark Wilson, Jenny, is it fish and chips Monday? No, I don't do fish and chips, I have to say. Too greasy for me. I like the idea of fish and chips from the chippy, but my diet normally is so low on grease and oil and fat. A very low fat diet, very healthy, very good for you. But it means if I do have fish and chips from a chippy, it makes my stomach really churn, and everything just like backfires. It's quite bad, and that's just because I'm just not used to high fat meals. Wolfie Wolf, true story. One of the BR bosses was waiting for a parking space at New Street Station in Birmingham. A jumped up git in a TR7 jumped in her space and said, "I've been waiting for that space for 5 minutes." If I come in halfway through, yeah. Let's have a look. James Petts, yes, that and constant state interference for cynical political motives. Part of the problem is the short-termism. With politics, the real solutions that would fix things would only come to fruition over, like 20 or 30 years. You have to plan for those kind of timescales for things to be done properly. But politicians don't think in that kind of scale, because they take the view, well, we put in the groundwork now, we get no thanks for it. We get voted out. And somebody else takes all the credit when it all comes to fruition. So politicians think purely in terms of 5-year slices. It's like, I need to get re-elected next time, so I just do what I need to do to make people vote for me next time. And unfortunately, that doesn't work. You see it in America, you see it in Britain, you see it in France, you see it in Germany. And it's almost a short-termist approach, because the politicians are just thinking about what will get them elected next time. And then you get all the problems with like when Gordon Brown as Chancellor raided the tax fund. Just to give it an example, there's examples from all parties, and it's like buy now, pay later, and we are paying for it now. But of course, then it was like free money. We can spend it on what we like. We can shore up the economy, and nobody will notice for 10 years, because that's what the people we're nicking the money from aren't drawing their pensions yet. And unfortunately, that's how politicians from all parties tend to think. Wolfie Wolf, I can only type 200 characters, so I had to split it. Wolfie Wolf, the Git replied, that's what you can do when you have skill and... That's what you can do when you have skill and brains. The lady jumped into a 6-month-old Range Rover and slammed into the TR7, pushing it down an embankment. She got out of her Range Rover and said, that, my dear, is what you can do when you have money. It's a good anecdote, but I can imagine that the response to that would be, yes, and this is what you can do when you have a speed dial to the police. Enjoy your night in jail. And the big bill, and the fact that you'll never get insurance again for doing that. Right, anyway, meanwhile, back at the ranch, Ian Hilpus, private companies like Virgin are taxpayer subsidised. Yeah, and that is pretty much everything that's wrong with the railways at the moment. They've been privatised. Like, if you sat there and went, what's the worst possible way we could privatise a nationalised industry? I know, let's do the railways like this. You've basically got the worst possible way of doing it. Will Braddock, hello from me and Sam Beeman. Well, hello to you. Hello, Will and Sam. Boom. That's not Sam's Trains, is it? Going incognito. I don't actually know what his surname is. The only person who I know their actual name is SDJR88, and it's Callum Wilcox. And of course, I am Jennifer E. Kirk. You can find my books on Amazon and laugh at them and go, I'm never going to buy one of them because they're crap, they are. Will Braddock, can you shout out Sam Beeman? He's a massive fan. Big shout out to Sam Beeman and my posse. Good to have you along. If I'm getting a bit boisterous, it's because the whiskey's talking. But yeah, Sam, really great to have you along. Glad you're a massive fan. Really appreciate it. If you see me at any of the Model Railway exhibitions, do come over and say hello. Always lovely to meet people. And in fact, at Ali Pali, it was great to meet so many people. I just felt so humbled that people kept coming up to me and saying, "Hello, I watched your YouTube channel." Let's have a look. Red Pot Man, ciao Jenny. Am I on the right channel or are we on the politics show? Unhappy face. I'm really sorry about that. It's just we was talking about whether did I think that nationalising was the answer to the railways, and it was a big complicated answer. Let's get back to the trains. Anyway, so big mega trip to Hattons today. I've done a load of interviews, talked to them a lot about how they pick their special commissions, how they picked them in the past, how they're planning on picking them in the future. And obviously Hattons they're not going to do a big exclusive reveal to Jenny Kirk YouTuber. So they do have projects in the pipeline. So, once the 66 is delivered, I think they've also got the N-Gauge Bayer Garrett as well. So they did that in conjunction with Helgen in 00. It is sold out. In fact, actually, I forgot to ask if they're going to do another run of that because it's completely sold out. So it must have been successful. But that is going to be their toe in the water to N-Gauge. So any of you N-Gauge modelers, keep your eye there because Hattons are going to be doing some N-Gauge exclusives. So it'd be interesting to see if they sell well, then there could be more. But certainly they've, beyond the Class 66 and the N-Gauge Bayer Garrett, I've been told there are things in the pipeline, but they're to varying degrees. They can't talk about them because they're at that stage of development where it's still super secret. They did mention what is it? There's something about a crane departmental thing. I'm presuming that they've announced it because if they haven't, I've just he's blown the gaff to me. And I'll be honest, it was modern image, so not my thing. But he talked a little bit about that, so I think it's like a little departmental motorised crane thing. But there are other things in the pipeline. He dropped some hints about wagons as well, so they are looking at more wagons. But the way that they do actually pick things, they'll be working on things for long periods of time. So he said, something that we weren't even considering 2 weeks ago might be top of the pile now. And conversely, there may be something that we're doing a lot of work on, something's come up and it's like, actually shelve that for a bit. So I think there's a state of flux as well, which is another reason that they don't want to announce projects until they're 100% committed to them. And there's also an element of, he said, I don't want to blow too much of this interview because I did get a really good interview. But essentially, there's also, you can be really behind a model, and then when it goes to the factory, is it actually feasible, practical, and cost-effective to make this model? And again, that comes back to the march on of technology with the improvements in motor design. Just to take one aspect, is allowing smaller and smaller locomotives. So Hornby's Ruston 48DS, the little tiny dinky diesel locomotive. I think it might even be a petrol-driven locomotive. I'm not sure. That would have been impossible to have motorised even just a few years ago. But because of the advances in design and ability to make these things, that is now a very real possibility, which of course opens up the market for a number of other tiny little locomotives which might have otherwise been an impossible proposition. I mean, there's also the Peckett flying buffer beam, which was built specifically, was it a Courtaulds plant somewhere in North Wales, and effectively the plant was on both sides of the main rail line, and there was like a duck underpass, which to be able to work wagons through it, they needed a specially commissioned locomotive. And it was nicknamed the Flying Buffer Beam because it used a narrow gauge boiler and firebox to make sure that the locomotive was actually no higher than the 5-plank open wagons that were being worked through, because that was all the headroom that there was. It was nicknamed the Flying Buffer Beam. Let's have a look. Towing Wharf on Easter Monday. Philip Page. Is that an exhibition? Towing Wharf. Easter. Right. Interesting. And Tally Flynn Railway is certainly one I'd love to go there, but it's finding the time. It's a bit of a trek because it's on that side of Wales from where I am. That it's a bit of a trek to get there because you either go cross country straight across the middle, or you go A55 to just near Bangor, down to Pwllheli through Porthmadog, and it's a long trip. It doesn't look far on the map, but believe me, it does take a while to get there. Dave Engage, do you dabble in Engage, Jenny? I don't know. Engage is an area that I don't envisage me modelling an N-gauge. If anything, I'm going the other way. So I've started dabbling in O-gauge, and that's because my eyesight is not what it used to be. And I think the problem with N-gauge is I just couldn't do it justice. And I know that I would get, I would be able to model Tiny Yard upstairs perfectly. The space is there to do it in N-gauge, but I'm sticking with 00 for that. The standard of N-gauge models, can't deny it, it's really come on in leaps and bounds. You're getting sound in your N-gauge models as well, but it's not really something that I would personally be going into. Train Sporting Southeast, are you going to Worley this year? As well, we never know. We could see you at the show with Great Model Railway Challenge Layout Final. Well, certainly if the winner is there, I'll come and look at it. But I can neither confirm nor deny that I am involved in that programme. But yeah, I probably will be coming to Worley this year. I'd love to do, actually. I was really honoured to be asked at Alexandra Palace to do the interviews, and they went down very, very well. So I'm curious whether I might eventually at some point get an invite from Worley Model Rail Club. I must contact them. In fact, I still need to contact York as well. I meant to do that. Somebody passed me the contact details, and I have become so snowed under I've forgotten to contact them. I'm really sorry. I can't remember who it was who hooked me up with the organiser at York. I'm really sorry. I've forgotten to. I just remembered now. I've forgotten to get in touch. Hot Rod Rodney 25. Hi to you. Have a good show, Jenny. I've got to go. Well, look, it's been great to have you along. Really enjoyed your company. What else we got? The Growler Blackwood N-gauge layout. Departmental wagons in N-gauge would sell. Well, I'd buy. Something again I talked to Hattons about, and obviously the prime consideration above all of like, oh, shiny and not been done before, for a model is, will people buy it, and people buy it in enough quantities to make it commercially viable. And certainly Bachmann have done a number of departmental wagons, and Hornby as well, actually, where they did the taupe, the clam and the rudd, and the shark as well. And they've sold consistently well, and they keep reappearing in the range. And what it shows is that, and they did the trout as well. Helgen did the catfish and the dogfish. There's the the sea cow and the sea lion from both Hornby and Bachmann. And, these do sell. So, yeah, there's definitely a market for departmental wagons. It's an interesting area. And I guess even if you model, London King's Cross Station, let's just say, with all your units and stuff, there is still always room for a departmental train, departmental wagons. And in fact, there's a video doing the rounds on, I think it's Twitter, of a departmental, an engineer's train going through, was it Bank Station on the London Underground? And it's very weird to see bogie hopper wagons full of ballast trundling through a London Underground station. But the video is there to prove that it does sometimes happen. So even if you model London Underground, you can have space for engineers' wagons. Leslie Gilpin, do you think a Garrett would be suitable for my Somewhere in Canada layout? Oh, there's always room for a Garrett. And the thing about Garretts is that they were built for a particular purpose. It was to get a big, powerful locomotive through terrain and track layout, like tight, winding, steep track, that a conventional locomotive of that power couldn't get round the curves. So actually, a Bayer Garrett is more likely to get round your layout than something like, say, for example, a King class locomotive. So yeah, there's definitely always room for a Garrett. And there's a part of me a little bit miffed that I missed out on the Helgen Hattons Bayer Garrett and 00. Now I know that they do occasionally crop up second hand, and I did mean to ask them if they were going to do another production run of those. But I completely forgot. So, spoiler for the videos that are upcoming, I forgot to ask that question. It won't come up. But certainly, Garrett's a wonderful little locomotive. I say little, big locomotives. Faya Olan, when are we back in the loft again? Again, I've been so busy with these other projects, some of which I can't talk about, that I haven't had a lot of time up in the loft. But I have started some of the scenic work. And I bought today actually from Hattons, full commercial rate, no freebies, no kickbacks, no discounts. I bought 25 more yards of Pico Code 100 streamlined track, so that should now be enough track to pretty much finish off, and maybe short of a couple of points, but apart from that, we're getting there. So I'm hoping to, I was supposed to film today, but things all got away from me. I ended up at Hattons for a couple of hours longer than anticipated. And then I had my nephews round, and then Les came round. We were doing some work downstairs. Then I've come up here and done the live stream. So I still haven't had a chance to film in the loft. I may do later on if I don't get too drunk. There we are. That's on camera. So there is stuff to film up there. And hopefully, fingers crossed, if I don't film today, I'll film tomorrow. I'll get another progress on the loft layout. Hopefully Friday's video, maybe. I don't actually have direct control over the videos that go up. That's all done by Zoe. So there'll be like a whole bunch of videos all jockeying in a queue. If you are a Patreon, you'll get the Friday video early. So at some point, there'll be a decision made by Zoe of what the Friday video will be, and that'll get posted out to the Patreons. And yes, Faya Olan, I do have some decent lights. Yeah, that is one of the things that's going to be in the update on the loft layout. I've got not one, not two, but 3 high-powered LED lights, and they're wired in, and it's like daylight up there. It really is bright. So yes, I know I kept saying they were on order. Well, they did finally come through, and I've wired them straight in. Like within an hour of them arriving, I wired them in and got them working. So yes, you'll be pleased to know the light is so much better up there. Right, Aiden0206, I would love to get a 00 gauge Garrett. Yeah, me too. The Hattons Helgen one did look special. I know there was a few tales of woe about him shedding valve gear and stuff, but there was a lot of them made. They've all been sold, and the people who've bought them are generally pretty happy with them. So I think there was just like with any model, there's a few went rogue, and they got the limelight, and maybe undeservedly so, because the vast majority of the models have performed faultlessly. James Pets, Brockwell Lane. I will put up some N-Gauge content when I eventually build my N-Gauge layout, although perhaps on PeerTube rather than YouTube. Oh, it's PeerTube. Interesting. There are some people who model in N-Gauge on YouTube. I am not personally aware of any, but the trouble with N-Gauge is when I was talking to Batman, I think they said they reckoned that the UK market for N-Gauge was around 10% of the UK market for 00. So that just gives you an idea of why there's so many more people who do 00 and why there's so many more products for 00 is simply because it's a bigger market. Let's have a look. Philip Page. There is a Garrett at Science and Industry Museum in Manchester. Is that the one of the South African narrow gauge ones? So they're like 3'6" gauge or something like that. I know it was built at Bayer Peacock in Manchester at Gorton, but they built locomotives for all over the world. They're a huge exporter of steam locomotives. Dragon Junction. Smiley face with shades. Like, haha, yeah. I presume that's about the lights. Let's have a look. Leslie Gilpin. I'd make videos, but the technology is beyond me. Still struggling getting the DCC conversion done. I'm right there with you. I'm not very technically minded. I can wire up points and stuff. Not a problem. Just about getting my head around putting DCC chips in locos and doing a bit of hard wiring. But when it comes to videoing, I'll be honest, video editing, I'm lost all at sea. And that was actually something else that I saw at Hattons. their social media video content creation. I got honoured to watch some of that being made, and so it's quite interesting. They've got really nice setup. I'm very impressed by the cameras that they've got as well. Some good quality kit there. Yeah, got to see them making videos. It's interesting actually. That was where Zoe perked up because she was trains and doing all the videoing. And then she perked up when she saw the video editing suite and got talking with the guy who was working on that. James Pets, PeerTube is a bit like YouTube but federated. Do look it up when you have the moment. Yeah, I will do actually. That sounds interesting. Train Sporting Southeast. I know about your secret about the Great Model Railway Challenge. What? That I still haven't watched Series 1. Oh, my secret's out. Dragon Junction. Yes, lights, Jen. Yeah, it's so much more improved up there, I have to say. And they were ordered from fairly early on. It's just... Ooh. Sorry, I think I've got a drug deal going on at the back. I've got CCTV. I'm not going to show you because it's like... basically it's private viewing only. But I'm just looking. There's a drug deal going on. They're very brazen. Yeah, it's like, oh, he's ripping you off. Oh, that doesn't look very good, Ganj. How much? That's a lot of money for Ganj. Apparently, I wouldn't know myself. That's really suspicious. Watching a drug deal on your CCTV. Do they not know it records all this? And we get on really well, actually, with the local PCSO. And we have shown him CCTV footage before, like when the post office got nobbled round the corner. Anywho, there's a Brockwell Lane. I love to watch videos on any gauge or scale. There's always something to learn. Yeah, I watch a lot of the American videos. HO 016.5 seems to be quite popular gauge. It's O gauge but narrow gauge. A lot of the American outline stuff. It's the scenery is amazing, and that's one area where certainly British outline modelers would really, really do well to watch some of these channels, because the tips and the techniques on making the scenery. It's one of the things that Kathy Millett does. Big up plug for Kathy Millett. She's an American HO modeler, and she does a lot of the American sort of techniques, and she's very open and big on that sort of thing. And it's really, really good. The American modelers are way, way ahead of the UK modelers. It's almost like UK modelling got stuck in a rut for a long time, whereas the Americans, the Canadians, the Australians experimented and came up with better ways of doing things. And there's a lot we can learn from that. And a lot of my scenery techniques are being drawn on from not just from the Woodland Scenics range, which is principally marketed to America, and we've belatedly got that, but also these days I get a lot of information from YouTube channels doing the modelling. But in the past, I used to, when I grew bored of Railway Modeller, I by chance discovery, I discovered Continental Modeller, and I actually subscribed to Continental Modeller for longer than I did to Railway Modeller. Not because I wanted to model overseas railways, but because the standard of the scenery, in my opinion, was so far in advance that I would get it for the scenery tips. And it's still a pretty good magazine, actually. If you've never read Continental Modeller, it's certainly worth going and having a look. Let's have a look. All About Art. Hi to you. I like transport. Hi, Angus. Oh, Angus's Trains. Hi to you. Always good to see you in. I'm sounding really excited. Angus is always in the live stream. I think you've been here since day one when we first started doing the live stream. So it's always good to have you in. I know it's about 6 in the morning, something like that in Australia. It might even be about 6 in the morning, I think you said last time. So I know it's pretty early for you, but it's always good to have you in. I got burned bad as well. He pulled an April Fool's prank on me, and I fell for it. So so cool. What else we got here? Dragon Junction, Simon Shed Engage. Oh, we got one of the channels. Yeah. Simon Petts, the person who was asking about O-gauge content, there's an excellent channel of a huge layout based on Bath Green Park in the 1960s. I have seen that. Yeah, it's quite excellent and I do recommend it. Yeah, there's some really good YouTube channels out there. Not just doing, I mean, there's quite a lot do what I do. I make no pretense about that. I sometimes, I have described myself as the number 2 female YouTuber, and the reason for that is because Kathy Miller is got a considerable number more subscribers than I do, so I can't say I'm the number 1 because people go, well, Kathy Miller's got more subscribers than you, but certainly in the British scene, I try and claim I'm the number 2. Probably aren't. Somebody's going to go, oh yeah, well there's Stacey Smith and she's got more subs than you, but as far as I'm aware, I think I'm the number 2. But there's certainly loads of guys who got a big following. It's nice actually in a way because it's a really good community, and it was brought home to me at Alexandra Palace in particular, just how tight knit this community is. You know, everybody knows everybody else through things like YouTube, and it's great because when I came back into modelling after university, the internet wasn't a big deal. YouTube really pretty much wasn't there. I remember even eBay was a novelty back then. Amazon still just sold books, and I think they did books and music. So in terms of model railway communities, if you weren't a member of a club, you were very much on your own, unless you had friends who happened to also railway model. And now it's so different. It's brilliant. And, you know, a lot of people say the internet's the internet's killed the high street, the internet's killed publishing, the internet's killing the music industry. But there are areas like railway modelling where I think the internet in many ways has brought far more benefits than detractions. Yeah, you know, true, some of the local model shops have really struggled and have closed, but not all model shops have. And it's never been easier to get in touch with other modellers. Now, you don't have to be a member of a club. And I know some clubs are really good, but there are clubs out there that can seem very stuffy and insular, and like, oh, we do GWR branch line termini from 1965. That's all we do. And if you don't do that, you know, modern image to them is like is the Fell diesel is modern image to them, and that can be very off-putting if you're pretty new to the hobby. You know, certainly, you know, I remember being sort of 8, 9, 10 years old and going to HRCA events with my dad and feeling very, you know, isolated almost, because, you know, all these old men, and, you know, you felt left out, and that could put a lot of people off the hobby. So I think YouTube in particular, but also, you know, social media like Facebook and Internet Forum has democratized this. It's made it much more accessible to find other people and to swap tips as well. Let's have a look. Leslie Gilpin, a lot of American N-scale YouTube channels, but they don't shout out. You almost have to work out the scale. Yeah, I've noticed that as well. I was watching one and I was trying to work out, was it G scale, 16.5, SM30? You know, I knew it was narrow gauge, but it was very difficult to tell what it was. I think it turned out to be 16.5, but they don't advertise. James Petts, I love the interesting and complex operations in American railway modelling. Yeah, I've said this before. America has a lot of these little backwater lines that are very much like the sleepy backwaters that once existed in the UK, but have long since been swept away. A lot of parts of America still have these where you can still see trains trundling down the high street because basically the railway was there first and the town grew up around it. Or, you know, like shunting a couple of wagons into these sort of decrepit backwater sidings. So there's a lot of interesting operations in America still. Ian Hilpus, has anyone seen the steam shunter that looks like a diesel and has no viable piston or coupling rods, and her name is Susan? Is that one of the Sentinels? I know that the Sentinels look a bit like a diesel, and there's one at the Somerset and Dorset Trust, I think it's Norton. Fat Wallet Boy 2, what drew you into railway modelling, Jen, and how long ago? What was your first train set or layout like? Basically, it was my father. My father had Hornby 00 as a child, and when he had children, basically me and my two sisters, he was looking for an excuse to get that out of the loft and play with it, and I was the one who took the bait. So I've got very early memories of playing with Hornby 00. I say playing. Originally, it was like me watching my dad playing, and the little hand would snake out, and they'd be like, no, Daddy will show you how it works. And my mum would go, are you letting Jenny play with that? And he'd go, yeah, I'm just showing how it works. And then eventually I was allowed to play with it. But in terms of, and it grew from there. My first train set was basically his train set, and it was a Hornby 00 BR liveried N2 with the number 69567, a 264 standard class 4 tank number 80054, and a Metropolitan Vickers class 28 Kobo, and they were all Hornby 00 3-rail locomotives, and that was the nucleus that I inherited. There were a couple of other bits and pieces as well. We ran on 3-rail, but he'd also acquired from a dustbin when he was a kid an 8F with the number 48073, which was also Hornby 00, a very battered Hornby 00 City of London that was really quite badly battered, beyond redemption, but he still had it. And there was a Triang Princess Elizabeth, but no tender. They're the ones that I remember. And then we kind of built on that. So I can remember one Christmas getting a Silver King A4, and it was like, wow, brilliant. And these were all sourced second hand, and I got Duchess Montrose as well, came fairly quickly early on. And then I can remember a family holiday to Lou, and not as in like the throne room, but Lou spelled Loe. And this would be the 1980s, and there was a little shop tucked away in the back streets of Lou that sold a rather eclectic mix of fine art and second-hand Hornby 00 Meccano and Hornby O-Gauge. And it was the first time my father and I had ever seen anything that wasn't British Railways liveried Hornby 00. And we bought a whole load of, I remember, London and North Eastern Railway vans, LMS coal trucks. And after that, we started in earnest collecting Hornby 00, and that grew into this hobby that eventually ended up with us having almost one of everything that Hornby 00 ever made. But then, teenage years came along, and other things kind of took over, dating, university, clothes, going out, clubbing, going to see. I got into music in a big way, going out and seeing live bands. Got into burlesque as well. Believe it or not, again, things that we're learning about Jenny. I was a goth when I was a teenager. I know that this ruddy complexion doesn't make me look like a goth anymore. I think we all rebel in our way. Every generation rebels, and the generation before me, there was the probably the new romantics, and before that people were punks, and each one was like a rejection of the previous way of rejecting mainstream. So I was a goth before it was cool. So I got really into the goth scene, Dragfest, all that kind of thing. Then I grew up. I came out of university. I got a real job in broadcasting, and I rediscovered railway modelling then. And it was about the time that all the really keenly priced then high quality models were coming through from China with Bachmann, and it rekindled my interest. I'd have been about 22, 23 years old, and I remember it was actually it was. Ironically, I'm talking about Bachmann, but it was a Hornby ex-Lancashire and Yorkshire pug with the number 51222, and I saw that in the old Bolton Model Mart shop, and it's something about that and the Bachmann 16-ton mineral wagons reached out and went, you shall get back into railway modelling, and that rekindled my interest. But let's have a look. Ralph West, fantastic. 00 Montrose and N2, they rock. Arnold Schwartz, wow, your voice is so sexy. I know. I get that all the time. I'm very posh, even though I'm originally from around here, lived a lot all over the country. But I am desperately posh. Let's have a look. Linnet 12DD Bauhaus. Faya Olan Goths, do they still exist? I think they've gone emo now. There's a lot of I saw it actually. I saw a sign when I was in Brighton. I went into one of those sort of goth shops, and there was a big poster at the picture of an emo crying, and like all the eye makeup all went tragic, and it said emo. It's like goth, but for pussies. But yeah, believe it or not, I was a goth. Still got all the outfits and stuff. Never had the heart to get rid of them. So I was really into like the velvet, the corsets, the sort of what are they like, the patchwork flowy skirts and stuff, Victoriana, all that kind of thing. But Angus's trains. This is irrelevant to trains. Yes, I know, guilty as charged. Sorry. Meanwhile, back at the ranch. But yeah, no, it was kind of on theme. It was like how I got back into model railways after university. So it's kind of how it happened. And yeah, it was never a better time to get back into model railways, I guess, because we had all these high quality models coming through. And I remember back in the day when my father resurrected his Hornby 00 layout, a lot of that was because the Hornby models were very expensive. People moan about the prices now, but in real terms, a lot of the Hornby models in the yeah, that's right, Angus. Meanwhile, back on the ranch. But yeah, these high quality models were coming through, and back in the 80s, the Hornby models were junk, absolute junk. We're talking tender drive, toy-like things with pizza cutter flanges, moulded on detail. They were rubbish, but in real terms, they were very expensive. So much so that the Hornby 00 second hand was actually cheaper, a lot cheaper than buying brand new Hornby. And argue, some of the Hornby 00 models were incredibly good models. And I'm thinking here particularly of the Stanier 8F. I still think that is probably one of the few Hornby 00 models that still holds its own. If you black up the wheels so they're not this sort of shiny nickel silver, the Hornby 00 Stanier 8F is one of the finest models produced. And when you think that's from the 1960s, that shows that if Meccano hadn't have gone bust, where would we be now? Now there's a question perhaps for another day. James Petts, yeah, absolutely. If I recall correctly, a Hornby locomotive in the 1980s would be circa £40, which is a lot of money back then. Leslie Gilpin, I have a Pug and a Lima Crab in 00 bought in the early 80s, but never built anything to run them on. Red Pop Man, have you ever thought to model a layout at an exhibition? As an exhibit? Yeah, I do exhibit, not very often due to time constraints. But I do own, I built it. I built and I still own an exhibition layout. It's called Grove Street Yard, and it is featured on my YouTube channel, but it's also been featured in numerous magazines. It's featured on the pages of Model Rail. I think it's issue 143, which being now quite an old back issue, unless you come across it, if you go to a Model Rail exhibition, they have these stands where it's like hundreds of thousands of magazines, then and look for it, then it's probably pretty difficult to get. But it's also been in Model Järnvägsfags magazine, and again, if you're not in Scandinavia and don't read Swedish, that's probably a bit of a moot point. But the article did subsequently appear on MRE Mag, which is the online magazine, and that means you can still read the magazines now. So you can read about Grove Street Yard and MRE Mag. So a big shout out to Alex Croft and the MRE posse. But yeah, James Petts, 40 quid in 1987 will be 114 quid now. So yeah, pretty much about what we're paying now. Faya Olan, when Hornby first made the Mallard in the 80s in LNER blue with the valances, I paid £20 new from a show in Buxton. But yeah, you think what 20 quid would have bought you in the 1980s, and that was a lot of money. And I can remember getting my 2-3 quid for my birthday from a relative, and that was a lot of money back then. So I can remember saving up for The one model I do remember saving up for, Thomas the Tank Engine, the Percy. I really wanted Percy from Thomas the Tank Engine, and I saved up, and I think that cost me £16. And that is in effect what is now one of the railroad models. And it still costs £16 now, but £16 in the late 80s was a lot of money, especially I saved up for a long time for that. Dave Engage, my parents bought me a Hornby Minitrix Flying Scotsman in 1990. It cost £50 then for Engage, but cracking loco, and I still own it. Yeah, and I'm trying to think of something tangible. Oh, I do know what I can compare to. Right, I mean, not 1980s, but 1997. In 1997, a Cadbury's Whisper chocolate bar. Obviously, if you're watching this from USA, Canada, Australia, I don't know whether you have the Whisper chocolate bar, but certainly to take a UK angle on inflation. In 1997, I can remember buying they did a promotion with a Whisper Mint. Remember them? And back then, I was at university, and if you wanted to phone home, you generally either fed the payphone with lots of money, or you bought a phone card. And I can remember the phone cards had a promotion, Whisper Mint promotion, when you used up your £1 phone card. That's how cheap phone calls used to be back then. £1 phone card would last you for quite a few calls. The actual expired phone card, you could take it to a little corner shop and you could swap it for a Whisper Mint. And on the back it said, for the retailer, this card can be redeemed with Cadbury's up to the maximum value of 32p for a Whisper Mint. They wouldn't give them any more than that, but generally I can remember 32p was what you would pay for it if you went to motorway services, where you always get gouged to high heaven. But it was something like 25p for a Whisper Mint. What do they cost now? Well, they're about, depending on where you buy them, between 60p and 80p. So, that's how much they've gone up. Shelton de Cruz, we don't have that in Australia. Yeah, we didn't have it for a while. It kind of went away and then it came back. Angus's Trains, to you, go for whiskey and it's 6 a.m. in Australia. I knew it was about that because I remember you mentioned last time. Oh, you got the keyboard problems again. Funnily enough, I've got a spare keyboard under the bed in the back room, but it would probably cost more to post it to you in Australia than to just go out and get a keyboard. One thing I do know, actually, I know this through Zoe's Retro Collecting, Australia also has CEX, the Computer Exchange, which is a load of shops. And they do computery stuff and phones and retro games, which is why Zoe goes in for it. But you can probably pick up a second-hand cheap keyboard to replace the one that's causing you a lot of issues quite cheaply there. I know they have branches in in Australia, because we've been looking longingly at the PlayStation 2 Guitar Hero Van Halen, which only came out in Australia on PlayStation 2, and it's a game that Zoe's desperately trying to figure out a way of getting a decent copy from Australia. Sheldon de Cruz, it's 6:39 a.m. Red Pot Man, Jenny Emily at RM Web from 9 years ago. Yeah, that was me. I still got that account. I still occasionally read RM Web. I don't post anywhere near as much, but Jenny Emily on RM Web is me. Faya Olan, I've got a complete collection of Hornby catalogues from 1966, year I was born, to the present. It tickles me to see some of the early models and price tags. Yeah, and what always tickles me when you see some of these old literature is the fact that it goes, new super detailed model, and you look at it and it's the biggest pile of cack going, and you look, it's like moulded on detail, and the standard one size fits all chassis, and it goes on about new super duper detail, and you think it's rubbish. Yeah, Faya Olan, I can remember petrol hitting £1 a gallon and moaning about it. Yeah, I don't remember it hitting £1 a gallon, but I remember when it hit £2 a gallon, my dad wouldn't shut up about it. It's like, oh, they're pricing people out of their cars. And it's now like £4.50, £5 a gallon. Angus's Train, somebody said I have a whiskey. Look, Eureka Models. Is that the one in Melbourne? Let's have a look. Google is our friend. Philip Page. I remember petrol at 5 shillings. It's 25p per gallon. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, this is going to turn into Monty Python, the Four Yorkshiremen sketch. Yeah, I remember when we used to have to pay to mill owner for privilege and used to work 25 hours a day. Aha.
Hi, honey, hello.
Hello. It's nearly takeaway time. So let's hold on. Eureka Models. Eureka Mod. Ah, are these? Oh, the Garrett. Right. Ah, thank you, Angus. Let's have a look. We've right. I've got to show you this. This. Thank you very much, Angus. This is Eureka Models. I presume that they're an Australian company, but I love some of the Australian outline stuff. There's a lot of great models. I mean, I like that cattle wagon. Bogey cattle wagon. Ooh. Bogey sheep wagon. That's wow. Let's just can we force it to go back? I'm sure. No. Oh yeah, there you are. I'm looking at those. And they remind me of the Northeastern Railway Cauldron wagons. I do like them. What's that? So we can't see. Is nobody seeing the web page that's up? Can I just quickly check? Are people seeing you should see on the main screen, the Eureka Models Leaders in Sound. Is that web page come up? Go to Models. Models. Right, no problem. So I was worried there for a moment. Go to Models. Newsletter, Exhibitions, Blog, Order Forms, Gallery. That be the Gallery. All coming soon. Right, let's have a look. There's some. I see the Garrett. Ooh, it's very tempting. I'm gonna have a look at the Garrett here. That. Oh my word! I'm HO, so it would work in the loft. Ooh. HO trucks. Oh right, Philip Page. Oh, you did the car boot at Bolton Wanderers. I keep meaning to go there. Dave Engage. When did MGR coal wagons get phased out in the UK? Anybody know? I think the last flows lingered on quite late. It's only comparatively recently, maybe in the last 5 years. There were some traffic flows. I'm trying to remember. I think it was to do with plants that couldn't accept newer models. But, I'm looking for prices. I was always taught if you have to ask the price, you can't afford it. But, that is very nice. Basic unit without sound, 845. So the basic thing, Australian dollars, 845. I need to know, how much is that in UK pounds? So, 845 Australian dollars in pounds. Actually, it's not as bad. When you see 845 Australian dollars, you think, oh my god! But of course, exchange rates and stuff, it's currently just shy of £461.
My cardigan,
yeah. Zoe's arrived. So it's going to be...
By the way, I just need to do one more thing.
Oh no, I don't want to wet Willy. Sorry about the little squeal there, blasting your ears. So big sorry to anybody who's listening on headphones there.
Bye-bye.
See, well, I'll be rounding up in a moment. I'm gonna round this up because I've just I've been on nearly 3 hours.
It's alright, stay there.
But
I've got an entire house to myself.
No, but it won't take away.
I'm gonna go and prod all your models and make them fall over.
Oh no!
Bye.
£461. That is, that is tempting. Angus, you have opened a whole kettle of worms. Oh, I want one. That is. Where's the? Oh my word. I'm just interested actually. Those hopper wagons. Oh, that looks nice. The New South Wales 38 class. Oh, four-wheel hopper. Let's have a look. Is this? Wow, that is a dinky little thing. I'm just interested. 140. Let's just try that. 140. What does that come out at? 140. So interesting. Very my word, £76. Is that each or is that a pack? Oh, pack types. Pack of 4. Right, I'm with you. Right. It's not as bad as... So, actually, they're comparable to UK models. But, yeah, packs of 4. Target delivery date, late 2030. And the website's not been updated for a while. But, oh, Angus, thank you for showing me that. I'm interested, really interested. No, I can't move on to Australian outline stuff. As I said before, I've got a lot of family out in Australia. They're all sort of centred around Warragul. I don't know, any of our Australian audience, are you familiar with Warragul? It's a town near Melbourne. I say near. In Australian terms, it's like, oh, it's just round the corner. Could be like 1,000 miles. Different sense of scale in Australia. James Petts, have you ever tried OO Works models? I haven't, no. Faya Olan, by the time you've added import duties and VAT and postage, you tend to be looking at a 1-to-1 conversion on price. Yeah, I suspect it's the case. If I do want to go and take a trip to Australia, I think my suitcase on the way back may have a few models in. It's going to be one of those sort of things. So what I'd have to do is find somebody that I'll pay for it, get it delivered to them. They'll then repost it and it'll just say a gift. That's the way you get around. So I've heard. I can't condone doing that because it's probably illegal. But so I've heard. If you send it and put gift on it, then it gets around that. Leslie Gilpin agreed. If I suffer from importing from USA, yeah. But conversely, going the other way, they don't pay VAT, so they get the VAT taken off, and that pays for their postage. And so it costs about the same to buy and get imported into either America or Australia from the UK as it does for us in the UK to buy because of the VAT thing. Yeah, Angus, you're a bad influence. Buy it. Do I look like I'm made of money? You should. I just dropped 200 quid, which let's have a look. £200 in Australian dollars. So just to put it into perspective for you, Angus, I just spent 366 Aussie dollars today on stuff which doesn't look all that special to look at. It's like risers and some Will's plastic
and
kits.
that ivory back scratchers shaped like Satan. Don't forget that one.
No, I only had one of those back in my goth days. But anyway, I'm going to have to round this up. So, it's been really good to have you all along. Don't forget you can catch up on this video. It stays on YouTube somewhere. So, if there's any bits you've missed or you want to re-watch it, then it's certainly there. And I'll say, and Angus says hi. Zoe says hi. She's like that. She's listening in the other room. She's just basically trying to be annoying to me. But, look who it is.
You mentioned my name. I had to come in. I was summoned.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. I'm going to steal her away now because I want dinner. Bye.
Yeah, we're going to go away.
Come
We're
on.
going to have takeaway night now.
Come on. Come on.
Oh, no.
Come
No,
on.
no. See you later. No. But, oh, no, I've knocked my whiskey over. No. Ooh, Aruga.
my
Warning. Whiskey.
Okay, I'll leave you to it. You have fun with your train, friends.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap this up. Anyway,
Bye-bye.
it's been... Bye-bye, see you later. Good riddance. Don't tell her that I knocked her picture off the wall. Good natter tonight, Fat Wallet Boy 2. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Good night, everybody. Don't forget, look out later in the week. We're going to be having some of those interviews coming through from Hattons, and I'm also going to try and get some filming done. If not tonight, in fact, looking at the time, probably won't be tonight now. It's going to be tomorrow up in the loft, and hopefully we'll be back to the Progress in the Loft videos for Friday. But until next time, you take really good care of yourself. It's been great having you all along. It's been great to have your company. I feel honoured that you've chosen tonight, or in the case of the people in Australia this morning, to hang out with me. So next time, next Monday, 7 o'clock, BST, which is British Summertime, which is GMT +1. I say that because obviously we've got lots of people around the world, and it's easier to just say, well, look, you know, this is us compared to GMT, so you know your time zone. You can work that out. But until next time, take really good care of yourself. It's been great having your company. Bye for now.